what would you do different? I mean, right now, that's always the question. People say, if you wanted to destroy the country, what would you do different? Nothing, because they're doing it.
Very true. That's
yeah. Because I mean, I was in South Carolina when that hurricane hit.
Oh, really? Were you out there?
Yeah, I was out there for Dane's was graduating from boot camp.
Oh,
from basic training.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we were in Columbia.
Oh, wow.
Which is only 150 miles from the coast.
Mm-hmm. I lived in Columbia for 3 years.
Yeah, so, I mean, so we're at Fort Jackson.
That's where I was at.
Yeah. So we went there, and the first day was family day, which was cool. You know, that was really more cool for Heather because none of her kids have left.
I did basic and AIT, and then got stationed at Fort Jackson for 3 years.
Yeah. So did you do AIT all at Fort Jackson?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So he went to Virginia. Was it Fort Eustis?
Yeah,
in Virginia.
Yeah.
So he's doing AIT because he's doing Black Hawk engineer.
Oh, cool.
That's pretty badass.
Or Black Hawk engineer and mechanic. They call it mechanic, but actually, because he scores high on his his test or whatever, they pretty much said, "What do you want to do?" Well, he was going to go into aviation anyways. That's why he wanted go through the Montana National Guard. So he did that, but he goes, "Yeah." He's like, "It's something with flight," and they're like, "Oh, there's all kinds of stuff." So they're going to teach him in the mechanic stuff, but basically the engineer part is going to be the third pilot.
Okay.
So they have your front two pilots, but the third pilot sits in the back corner, and I guess he watch like
a crew chief.
Yeah, it's that, and watch you like he's watching like pressures, pump pressures, rotor pressures, all that stuff, electrical panels and stuff back there. So he's basically monitoring all that stuff. So he just started on Monday.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, that hurricane, I mean, the first day was nice. The weather was 86 degrees, cloudy, had a little sprinkle in the morning, but most of the day was just beautiful. And then we woke up the next morning, light rains, stopped, and we're like, oh, I hope they move this inside because it's supposed to be, it was a tropical storm. It wasn't a hurricane warning. It was a tropical storm. They start coming out for their introductions of each, squadrons or whatever you call it, come out, and it just monsooned.
Really?
So they didn't even get to be in a dress, and he was so bummed. He's like, I sat there for like 25 minutes just getting my beret nice and crisp, and I had it all like waxed and like just perfect. And he's like, we didn't get even wear it.
And then downpour.
And they had to stand out there for an hour and a half just getting dumped on.
Wow.
And of course, we were undercover, under the boost there, but it was cool. No, it was really great to see him.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's great. It's always great to see a mom like go and tap their kid out. Like that video that I posted of him. I've got like, I don't know, 4,500 views on it or something.
Wow, I haven't seen it. I'll have to check that out.
It's cool because, like I said, out of her 3 kids, he's the first one to actually go away. The other one isn't billing, so I mean, he's not gone.
Right.
But this one, like,
he's on the edge of the nest.
Yeah. Well, like not being able to talk to him too.
Right.
Sundays for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That was rough.
Yeah, back in my day, it was 5.
Wow. Was it even every week for us?
It wasn't.
Because I didn't get to talk to my parents for the first 3 weeks.
I didn't either.
Basic training.
We didn't either.
Yeah.
And then it was like you could go stand in line and you got 5 minutes.
Yep.
And then there was somebody, I mean, the guys were like, get off the phone, and you're on the little pay phone. I had this friend I'd met, and he was scary. And he was another guy in training. And he was like, I don't know, 6'7" or something. And so when guys would be like, hey, your time is up, get off the phone, he'd be like, shut up. He's like, you're okay, Solomon, you take your time. And this dude was huge, and everybody just shut up. And this dude was like my best friend. And anyway, and then he didn't actually, like right near the end, something happened, and he had to go home. And I can't remember what happened, but anyway, I was really close to that guy, and he always protected me when I was on the phone longer than 5 minutes when we did have privileges near the end.
Well, and like I said, they got based on, how they all did through the week. But like the first 2 weeks, we didn't really get to them. So they get in and they do their introduction formal ceremony, and he calls you and he gets 5 minutes. He tells you, we're 313, Charlie, whatever, this is what I'm going to start doing. And then, I will call you in 2 weeks. So that first, it was like 2 weeks before we got the first one. And then, based on if the squad didn't screw up, sometimes they got an hour if they were really good, and other times they didn't. But it's also cool. There's a lot of Columbus connections there too.
What, really?
Yeah, there's we're trying to So Jason Stottle lives there.
Oh, okay. Is he
So-
stationed there, or does he just live there?
I still think I don't think he's stationed at Fort. I can't remember. So I didn't get to him, but Joe did. So Joe Cross got to talk to him.
Okay.
And everything else. And we really wanted him to go in and try to find Dane.
Yeah.
And everything else. And, I can't remember. I'm totally going to get his rank wrong. But, like, I don't know. What's the...
Is he Army? Is Private E1,
Army.
Private E2, PFC, Specialist?
Like lieutenant.
Lieutenant Colonel, maybe?
Yeah, something like a high
Oh,
rank.
wait. Okay, I'm thinking of the guys in training.
Yeah, but I mean, he's like...
Who are we talking about? Whose rank?
Jason Stottle.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of anyway, the kid in training. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, my kid's a private.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
He graduated private, and he doesn't even get ranked up because in the Army, he doesn't get rank. When he gets back to the Guard, he can rank up.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, he was in line to be a squad leader, but they won't do it because he's a National Guard from Montana, so they don't give him that. But yeah, it was gonna be funny. So Joe was trying to.
So it's Jason Stottle who's out there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a bunch of Stottles, but I'm not sure if I.
So you know Kyle.
Yeah.
And Amy.
Yeah.
So Kyle and Jason are twins.
Okay.
So it's his twin brother.
So I know exactly what he looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, I don't know. Like I can't remember. I'd have to go look at what Joe sent me on a text. I'd have to find it. But anyways, he goes, well, I could go find him. But he's like, if I come in to the base and to the barracks like that with my rank, they're all going to crap themselves like hardcore. I'm like, yeah, but it'd be great for you. Like, yes, I'd like to speak with a private cross.
Yeah.
In front of the center.
Yeah. Elevate that kid.
Just to mess with him a little bit. He's like, yeah. He's like, I don't think I'll do that. But he's like, I would,
All the other guys would be like, how do you know him?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Holy crap, It would have been fun to watch. I'd love to just seen his face. But it didn't happen, but it would have been cool.
Did anybody pass out during graduation standing there?
So, my son, he changed a lot. Like, physically he was a skinny runner kid. So he's still skinny, but he's a lot more hard. He gained some weight. He was always a slow eater. It's because he's got a kind of a narrow esophagus, so he kind of eats slow. But he was just shoveling food and just everything else. And he had a really great drill sergeant that he kind of grabbed onto. And it's a long story, but the guy was in the Marines first. He was a Marine, and a bunch of stuff happened, so he ended up going to the Army, and now he's a drill sergeant. But he kind of got Dane on this thing. He's like, you're going to find a line of respect and no respect, like people you respect and don't respect.
Yeah.
And he goes, of all the other company parts, he's like, no respect for any of them. He's like, I guarantee you during graduation, each one of those people will have someone pass out. But Charlie Company, I'm going to teach you right, and nobody will pass out. Absolutely right. Everybody but Charlie Company has someone pass out.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Locked their knees, and they just sunk down. And then you see the drill sergeant go in there, and they drag him out, and they take him back. One of them had to get the van. They had to bring a van from, you would know, that back side, in the back by the trees there, and came in and took him to the side. And
Did you guys had people pass out?
I can't remember.
I had a kid like
can't
4 or
remember.
5 down from me.
Really?
Go down. That's the only reason. Like, some of them maybe didn't see somebody, but I'm standing there, and I didn't even know that was a thing, like they're like, don't pass out and don't lock your knees, and I'm like, what is that? Like, people just pass out from I'd never heard of that, right?
Yeah.
So we're standing there, we're out there, and it's hot, and I don't know, all of a sudden the kid like 4 or 5 down from me just goes boom, and with his hands, he's at parade rest behind his back, chin first on the pavement. Boom. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that just happened. And then there was like guys in the back, and their job was to like hustle up and like drag him off, Yeah. Anyway, and then later I saw that kid, and he had his whole chin, everything all taped up. I think it broke his jaw, and like, he just face planted. Anyway, I'd never seen or heard anything like that until.
Well, and I think that's what Dane said. He goes, there's always 1 or 2 in those. They lock their knees, and then it cuts out the blood supply.
Yeah.
We had that happen. McLaughlin.
Yeah.
Oh.
Joe, were you in the? You were still here, weren't you?
Yeah, it was during like a spring concert.
Yeah, like
or
6th
something.
grade.
Yeah.
So Joe
Fell off the
McLaughlin,
bleachers
he was
backwards.
on the back bleachers, and we were doing choir, getting ready for like the concert, spring concert or whatever, and he locked his knees, and I mean he just boarded, and I mean hit his head and straight, and the ambulance had to come, and man, it was a thing. That they're like, don't lock your knees, and no one knew about it.
Yeah, who
like,
knows that?
Why would you tell us? But he did. He just locked his knees, and it just
Yeah, it was
he
pretty
just
scary.
passed out. Probably lucky he passed out because he was loose when he hit. Like But I mean, it was like, we're talking as high as this table, at least, or more, and just thunk, right onto the gymnasium floor.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember that. I do remember them threatening us before graduation. Like, if anybody in the Air Force, they're called flights. Anybody in this flight passes out, we're not graduating any of you. We'll recycle you all 2 weeks or something like that. But I don't remember anybody passing out.
No.
Air Force guys are smarter or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we are.
Different opinions.
We get air conditioning, so you can talk shit all you want. But wherever I was, I had
Either
air
way,
conditioning.
that's smarter. Huh.
So,
But no, like
funny.
I said, that storm though was pretty crazy though. Like
That's
I said,
funny.
it
That
rained
not funny, but it's crazy how it just caught everybody off guard. Like,
yeah, I don't know so much that like people around us, like we all knew like there was a big, but they were declaring it as a tropical storm. It wasn't called a hurricane, even though it was out out in the ocean before it hits land. It was considered a hurricane. Then it comes in, they usually change it depending on the movement. And then, but yeah, it rained so much. And I mean,
did you have any trouble getting out of there then, flying out, or
no? When we flew out so graduation was a Thursday, so we flew out on Saturday.
Where'd you fly out of?
Columbia.
Oh.
It was 86 degrees and sunny.
Weird. And
But-
yet 100 miles to the north, like
Yeah, it just went up and around, it looked like.
Yeah, but I mean, like when after graduation, it just rained, which kind of sucked because he actually got his base leave, so we were gonna go and do something fun, go see some history, or go to the museums, or go find something fun for him to do, But basically, we went to Best Buy to get him some earbuds and whatever. But getting in the parking lot, it was flowing over my shoes, just naturally running down the hill. Like it was like 6 inches of water, and of course the wind was kind of blowing, and people were hydroplaning and wrecking on the interstates and stuff. And so we spent the day pretty much in our room, and he just called people, and he dried off because I mean he was so soaked from sitting out there for really 2 hours.
Wow.
And then we went to bed at this hotel, and we slept through it. And we woke in the morning, and there was piles of the shingles off our hotel in the bottom, and there was rows of trees that were just
down.
Yeah, so they're like big oaks, but they have no root system.
Yeah,
it's all
'cause
sand.
It rains down there all the time.
Yeah, and
Normally, so they don't go down.
so like right next to her, we were trying to find something to do on that Friday, and we wanted to go all the way to Myrtle Beach. I mean, if you're there, like Myrtle Beach, right?
Yeah.
But we're thinking, well, we keep seeing all these road closure signs and whatever. Like, okay, well, maybe we'll just go to the museums here. So we started trying to take, using your Google Maps to get around. And every time we took the Google Map, we'd run into like these little housing sections that cut into the roads, and there was trees like smashed in the middle of the road. Power lines are down and everything else. And we're like, wow, this was a lot worse than we thought.
Wow.
But we didn't know anything about North Carolina. And the only thing we kind of had a hint was that Dane was supposed to get on the bus at like 2 a.m. To go to AIT up in Virginia. And the bus was 5 or 6 hours late, so they just left him underneath the carport on the cement for 6 hours because they cleaned up all of their bunks and stuff. And of course,
they got nowhere to
it's
go.
Army, they don't care. So
No.
they just left him there. So him and his buddies, they just threw their bag and gears up against the side, and luckily they let them have their phones, and they just sat on their phones and slept there. But he's like, yeah, I was 6 hours late. And then he said Heather tracked him on his phone, and they had stops, and they made it all the way to Virginia. So they must have been able to go through routes where the roads weren't closed in North Carolina. So I don't quite know. I think it was more that western part that really got hit.
That's wild.
But
There's a spider.
Yeah, he was trying to get in my face.
I just did a bunch of cleaning in here and everything. How did a spider slip by?
So did you ever find out what the winds were like that night that you slept through there and stuff? Or?
So we went down to the front lobby and everything because the power went out too. We heard the air conditioner in our room like kick off for a couple hours, and we're like, oh well, it was raining hard. We're thinking, well, crap in Columbus, the wind blows 40 miles an hour. My power goes out sometimes. So okay. So the gal down at the counter said, she goes, yeah. She's like, no. Last night between like midnight and 3, it was like 60 mile an hour sustained and 100 to 110 mile bursts. Like they just come in. She's like, probably not as hard. She's like, I don't know if that's exactly what it is, but she was hard enough. Like the shingles were just like chips. They're just everywhere. Every building was missing them. Every hotel. I mean, if you're a roofer there right now, you're
loving it.
You're loving it, man, making bank. But so we ended up going to Myrtle Beach, and we made it there, and all the boardwalk shops and stuff had water damage. I mean, the waves and the breakers had hit in there, and so they had everything discounted. So we got lots of shirts. Like I got a shirt for like $5.99 each.
Wow.
They're like, they're wet. I'm like, I don't care. I'm gonna go home and wash it.
Yeah.
You know, so I just, so we got some good souvenirs and stuff. But the wind was blowing like crazy.
I gotta tell you one little story about Fort Jackson. I did basic there, right? And so out of all the guys after basic, then everybody kind of gets split up to where you're going to go to AIT. So everybody who did basic there, like, okay, they only have one kind of AIT here. So all the guys that are going to stay at Fort Jackson, you're now going to go over here and go to AIT. So now we just move across post and did my 8 weeks of AIT, right? And when you go into the Army or the military of one branch or another, right, everybody's kind of like, you always wonder, like, where are you going to serve? I get to go places and see things and all that kind of stuff. So we're in AIT, and we're like out of 8 weeks, I think it's like week 6 or 7, they're finally going to tell us where we're all being sent to for our first duty assignment. So it's first thing in the morning. They get on the loudspeaker through the barracks, and they're like, all right, listen for your name. We're going to give your name and your duty station. So listen up. So we're all in our rooms, and they're like, Private Johnson, Alaska. And you hear way down the hallway, like, woo! Everybody's like, all of his buddies are like, yeah. And they're like, Private Lewis, Germany, such and such. They name the post. And everybody's like, oh, yeah. Everybody's just like, they're going all around. And then, like, they're going on down the list. I'm sitting there and I'm wondering, like, and they get to me finally. They're like, Private Solomon, Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I was the only one.
Really?
The whole barracks was like, oh. Guys, I didn't even know any of these guys, like down the hallway. Guys, I don't even, like, everybody knew my name and that I was the only schlub who did basic AIT and then got stationed at Fort Jackson.
Ouch.
In the heat and the humidity.
Yeah. So that was my, whatever. So I spent some time there.
Yeah. Now, like I said, he went in, it was in middle of July, hanging out and stuff.
Hot.
He actually said it wasn't bad. He goes,
Really?
At times it was hotter here than it was there.
Wow.
He goes, the humidity sucks.
Yeah, humidity brutal.
But he loved it. And the problem is his drill sergeant, because he was a Marine, he was like, you would have done fine in, Marine, basic. He goes, it's so easy. He was like, it was too easy. Of course, he was a runner. Everyone's biggest complaint is they have to run.
That was mine.
And he was cross country. He's like, whatever. He was the third fastest in his entire.
If anything, they were way too slow for him. He's like, let's stretch it out.
Yeah, the first run, he goes, he was done like a minute and a half before anyone else or something like that. The first run that they did, the first mile.
Yeah.
And he calls that week and he's like, man, it's really easy to run a mile here at sea level. Yeah. He was like, man, I can just smoke these people. But at the end, he was like the third fastest in Charlie Company and everything else. But like I said, he goes, if you just get over the mindset that you have to run, he's like, yeah, it was nothing. All of the trials that they had to go through. I mean, the Forge is like their big final one before they officially become a soldier and that kind of stuff. Yeah. He goes, it was a snooze fest. He says, it was easy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And he's like, I would tell anybody just to do Army, because he's like,
yeah, it's not that.
He's like, you just got to get out of your mind. He's like, yeah, I had hard days. There's hard days that, he's like, I broke down and stuff, but he's like, you got enough people around you, they pick you up. But he's like, it's just hard. You just, something hurts. He's like, he had shin splints real bad.
Ooh, yeah.
And he thought he was really worried because he thought he fractured his shin at first. And he's like, God, I don't want to be re-enrolled and go back and do this crap again. And it was just bad shin splints. So he got through. He just toughed it out. But
wow.
It was cool, though. It was really fun to see him.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we're real proud of him.
So then he'll come back here and be in Montana National Guard?
Yep. So.
Are they based out of Billings then?
Well, he is. He was recruited out of Billings.
Okay.
But I think he's got accepted to Montana State and Rocky for aviation.
Okay.
I think he's still leaning towards going back to Bozeman, just because it's not a private school.
Yeah.
And it was this little bit that everything's gonna be paid. except his labs. So his flights and everything else for his stuff wouldn't be paid at Rocky. Well, he had, just on a whim, he applied for the president scholarship and he got it, but they won't let him use it because it's a private school. They're like, well, you're military, you can't have military and
president scholarship.
President scholarship, and then the president scholarship was $60,000, so they covered it all. So he's like, well,
so I just went to basic for nothing.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're still going to cover, you know, Rocky. You're going to cover $130,000 education still. But I told him, like, you're going to come out $30,000, Dane. I go, that's nothing. Yeah. But he's going to be able to go through it. But now he told his mom, he scared his mom and said, yeah, I think when I get done, he's like, I might just enlist for a year, like just once. And she was like, with all the stuff going on, she's like, I don't think so. And he's like, Mom, relax. He's like, it's going to be a place where I'm going to be repairing Blackhawks and stuff. He's like, right now it's like South Korea, Japan. Yeah. And he goes, if, you know, he's depending on where it is and if they need that stuff, he's like, I just want to do it so I can get all my benefits. Yeah. He goes, because he's like, I know as soon as I get back, he's like, I don't have my rank where I think I am supposed to be now as a private. He goes, but when I get back, I'll rank up. He's like, but I'll have everything covered. And he's like, I get extra $700 a month. If I get all this stuff, I get all the extra GI bills, I get the 911 bill, and he's like, everything will just be paid. So he's like, I will be set. Just set. And I'm like, so he's like, Mom, I might not go to school right away. It might be another year. And I'm like, kid, go for it. Yeah. I mean,
you're young. Yeah. Go out and see the world. Yeah. I mean, it's a perfect opportunity.
And he is that one. Like he said, he's very much knows what he wants to do. Like, that's awesome. And focused and gung-ho and but it's cool, like I said, just to see him and everything else. And it was fun walking around because, like I said, that drill sergeant about people like respect and no respect, and he's like, oh, there's Sergeant Lee, no respect, because he knows which one's like sloughed off and goofed off and just trying to get through it, so like whatever. But then he's got his core group of friends and stuff, and he's like total respect. Awesome. And I was always giving him crap because, like, you know how kids are when they have their rooms and stuff here. And I went to Dane and I'm like, so if you went back to your room, the old Dane's room, would you say respect or no respect? He goes, no respect. Yeah, it was fun. I was just messing with him. I don't really care. Kids are kids, but it is cool. Like I said, I mean, you know, as a parent and stuff, like those moments when you get those. I mean, even as a stepdad, though, it's just like the pride. It's really cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. That's exciting.
And see a change in your kids.
Oh man, I mean, and it's just like immediate. I mean, he's an inch taller than me now, and I don't think he really is. He had boots on. I said, it's just because they've been having your posture straight for so long. Man. Yeah. I sit at a computer and I slouch all day long. I've shrunk. Yeah. But no, he was tall and just
standing proud.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah, that's
cool.
Good.
And there is. I mean, the nice thing about like the military and basic training and stuff like that is there's a huge sense of accomplishment. You know, especially for guys like us that we come from small towns. You know, we're just used to this whole small town mentality, and you know, we do get accolades here and stuff like that in a small town, but like when you go to something like that, like basic training, you're with all these other people that you have no idea who they are, you don't know anything about their backstory or anything like that, and then you come together as a group and you accomplish this pretty big feat and you end up doing it together. I mean, there's a huge sense of pride that comes along with that, and I think it's good. You know, and it's we're missing a lot of that today too. And I mean, I don't know what basic training is like compared to when you and I went or whatever, but I still think there's a need for it for sure. And I think, you know, like I said, I don't know what it's like to have that sense of pride in my kid because my kid hasn't been in the military, but I know the feeling of the pride I felt myself accomplishing basic training. So I'm super stoked for Dane. I can't wait to see what he's going to end up doing in life.
Oh man, like I said, that kid is rolling. Like I said, I'm kind of jealous. Like I said, if I go back and do it, I think I'd enlist and do it because I would change. I mean, I went through so many changes that I'm really proud where I am now. I'm the photographer and I know what I like and where I am unsettled. But it'd have been really cool because, like, again, it's small town stuff. We didn't really have the greatest like mentors of like when you're like, hey, what do you want to do for school, you know, or high school counselors and stuff. And I always wanted to be a pilot, and the only reason that was is my dad's college roommate was a lieutenant colonel, and you know, he flew F4s and Phantoms, and he let me wear his gear as a kid. I mean, I looked like Top Gun, and I was 86, so here I am with his flight helmet on and his jacket, and I mean, I wanted to be, and of course I got told, oh, you're too tall, you know, I've got a wandering eye, which is a stigmatism. Oh, you can't be a pilot. I didn't have the grades to do it, to be honest. You got to be like,
and in the late 80s, early 90s, like I had a flight simulator on my PC at that time, right? And terrible graphics.
Did you just
right?
fly into Chicago buildings all the time?
No, it was like this. I don't know what the game was. It was like F-17 stealth fighter or something. I don't know. I loved aviation, right? Same thing though. I was colorblind. They're like, yeah, there's just no way you're doing anything in the air. So, but I was like, all the time, I was like all about that. So I guess in a way too, I've also kind of lived vicariously, I don't know, through, in one way or another through each of my kids, you know, like they all go doing things that, you know, you're proud of and everything else. But anyway, so I could never do any of that type of stuff. But my oldest, Andre, he now flies. And so super proud of him and I'm proud of all my kids. But it's fun to check in with him now and about what he's doing. And I'm always like, dude, hey, look, I don't know if you're having good days or bad days from your perspective, but dude, you're okay. Like, and he's always got a really good attitude, but I'm like, dude, that's amazing. Like he's got videos he sent me where he's flying over like Seoul, the heart of Seoul, in formation with other helicopters. He's a helicopter pilot, and he's flying over there and below the level of the height of the buildings around him, and with dramatic storm clouds all in the distance, and just epic video, you know, where you're just like, dude, you did that today? Like I served some people some breakfast burritos, right? You know. And anyway, but yeah, when they're out there and they grow up and they go out and they go do things, and I don't know, and no matter what they're doing, and it's fun. It's fun to see them grow up and go experience things and things that we don't experience. Like, you know, these kids, they grow up and they're going to grow up and do other different things than you did, and the things that you've done are exciting and stuff to be proud of. But everybody kind of goes out and they all go do their brand of it, and that's fun to watch as parents or even step parents.
Yeah, so. It really sucks when he's sitting there and he's like, "Hey, guess what I got to see today?" He took his camera phone and he's got the F-35 sitting on the runway, and they're working on it. It's all like backlit with the storm, and I'm like, I want to do a photo shoot now. You got to get me on the base. How do I get on the base to do a photo shoot? Like, let me come do something. You know? I got some ideas. You know? But yeah, he's like,
have fun with
he's
that.
like, I get to walk around these all the time. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, that's way cool.
Yeah. See, and that's one thing that I miss. I mean, I'm so thankful that I found photography, but I wish I would have found it when I was 18, 19 years old. And here I am going to 26 different European countries, and I'm on the flight line every day, flying to England. I got to do all these things, and I look back at it now and I'm like, you imagine the pictures you could have got then.
I know. What a missed opportunities. Hey, I took a disposable camera to into the DMZ at Panmunjom.
Yeah.
I was in a building. I was in the building, the only those little buildings that span the border.
Is there a federal statute of limitations for doing stuff you're not supposed to in the DMZ?
I had photos of a North Korean soldier just through the window over my shoulder. We got told no flipping anybody off, don't make eye contact, no gestures, no nothing. I'm like, here, take my camera though. And I'm standing there and I got this dude right over my shoulder, and I'm just like this, right? And he's all looking intimidating through the glass. We're in North Korea because we're on that side of the table. Like, they're like, here's the line, da-da-da. My dumb little disposable camera, like somehow it got opened or something. All that, that's all gone. Like those things that I didn't even value those times like that to have like the right camera. Like, how important now is all these things to us? Like, I'm out in Nye today. I'm with Shelby, right? And we're out there in, like, this is God's country. I'm like having like Legends of the Fall flashbacks as I'm out there wrapping barbed wire around the fence, right? I'm like, I'm sitting there fighting the barbed wire, if you remember the scene.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here I am out there in Nye in God's country. But anyway, now I'm pulling out my camera and I'm like, Shelby, you got to stop right there.
Yeah. He's like, I got to get this drone out. I got to, there's perfect moment right now.
I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I know you're working on this, but can we have just a few minutes here? I got to capture this moment.
I'm like, fine.
And then be like, you know what, bro? This was only, I quoted 8 days to finish this project. We're on day 10 because you keep taking the damn drone out.
Right. I know.
True.
But what about these moments, like all these times, like that you have these experiences, and that, like, I totally failed to capture that moment.
Well, like his Africa trip. I mean, in my life, I've spent 60 days in Africa. I've got
You're shooting episodes of it.
Hundreds of hours of
Yeah.
film, and I had a standby camera that we were using for like quick product shots for the archery company and like mossy oak and stuff. But I sat there and I've got film, like the picture that everybody wants of a leopard in the sunset in the reed grass on top of a water buck, just glowing. And I've got film of it, but I got no stills of it. Now I'm like going, I kind of wish I had stills of that stuff, you know. And then like being in Zimbabwe, you know, being let in after 15 years of, what was it, Harare, or they blocked all travel into Victoria Falls. You know, I got pictures of I do have some Victoria Falls in me and that kind of stuff. Wow. But being able to seeing all the elephants and all the stuff that I did, like have the lion charge us, like stopping from me to you, wearing a truck. You know, I've got film of it all, but I don't have any stills. But like if I would have some stills and the charges of elephants and stuff, I'd have killer photos. I mean, you got killer photos, but I mean, I was filming. I wasn't thinking that. I was just like, hey, I'm getting paid to be here, and this is cool.
But I'll take that back then. How proud were your parents of you while you're over there doing that?
I don't know. I think they are proud of me, but my dad was really, because I mean, it really just started with me. I told you before, is like I was just sitting at home in between jobs and out of school and looking for stuff, and I'm like looking at these hunting shows. I'm like, I could do that. Like, it's not that hard. And like literally a year later, I was doing that. Yeah. And doing. So my dad was like, "That's cool," and you know, getting emails of like send him every day through a satellite email, like what happened and lion charges. And my dad's like, oh, wow, you know, it's cool. Yeah, of course. I mean, stuff I've done, I'm very proud of. But like I said, I think too is as time passes and you don't get to pull it out and see it, unless people know that you do that stuff, they don't really care. It's like it's just like your parents' history. Yeah. I mean, there's so much great stories around here. Right. I mean, we were just talking before about like hanging out with Ennis and him telling me about the mines and stuff. And like, I've lived here forever. I didn't know anything about that stuff. And he's like, I'm going to bore you to death. I'm going to tell you everything about this place. And I'm like, tell me everything about this place. I don't know jack about, Benbow Mine and then, Lake Camp and all that stuff. I was just like, this is an honor, really. Like I said, he told me all the, the mine, how far they run, the core, and the chrome lines and stuff, and where they start and stop, and how you identify them. And these are the spots, and you're just sitting there going, I've looked at those rocks for 30 years,
not knowing.
I'm just like, those are really cool bluffs. I'd like to, I need
not
to find
knowing how interesting the history is.
And then the mine and stuff, and
well,
it all built.
And we talk about different places that we've been and the different pictures that we've either gotten or we haven't gotten. But every year I get treated to pictures of Shelby when he does something that he probably thinks is just some simple just thing that he just does. But like part of the reason when I moved to Montana was like I wanted to do those types of things, and is like he just mountain mans it with pack horses and a big wall tent and goes deep into the hills and you do your hunting and you just do it the old school way. And like I see those pictures and those, like, people to have those experiences, like people would travel all over the world to come and do a pack horse trip into the mountains, doing an elk hunt. And you do it the old way. You and the guys just go in, pack all that stuff in there and do it that old school way. Like that's like an adventure. Like that's my vacation for the year.
Well, if you want work, head to North Carolina. That's the only way they're getting supplies in those people is by mules.
I saw that.
Like they were getting insulin into people and stuff because they absolutely have nothing. And of course, our famously unfamous government is no help at all, of course. Yeah.
But in this world of four-wheelers and side-by-sides, like that's a lost art. And that's an art. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've seen the videos and the little stuff, the simple things that you'll capture up there. Like, you're like, I'm like, oh, man, that is awesome. Anyway, I always think that's the coolest thing. Just back to that simplicity of that. And in the beauty of this area out here.
So, Shelby, what he's really telling you here is that you need to go hunting here a second, and this is what he's going to want to do.
You might need a drone operator.
He's not going to pull just a drone operator, but he's going to want to take at least a couple GoPros and do time lapses on the back of your horses or mules, and as you're going up the trail, have it like click, click.
I'm gonna
time lapse.
Totally pervert your simplicity,
right?
And be like, hey, can I attach a GoPro mount to your saddle horn here? No. But I'm just saying, like, all these things that we go out and we go do, and Yeah, like you said, all the different things that you learn that are just right around here. And some of these neat experiences around here that, like, yeah, we all kind of grow up and what we all do, or I don't know, what things we take for granted or I don't know, like sometimes I think we can get caught up or think our lives are mundane, except for Cole. Cole is largely the most interesting man in the room.
I don't think so. I think
no,
you guys are pretty interesting.
No, but dude,
It's going to be the 6 separations of Cole instead of like Tom Cruise or whatever. So how can we all like, spiderweb back to him?
Yeah, that's so funny you brought that up just now, because I literally had a video call with like all my sons the other day, and I brought up the 6 separations, the theory of 6 separations, and none of them had heard that. And we went into a whole big thing, and we started to play that game and just like tie weird people together. And then you brought that up. Have you heard of that?
It's the 6 degrees of separation.
6 degrees of that. Who was it who came up with that theory?
Oh,
I'm gonna Google it, but
I can't remember the exact way it goes. But it's like it was based on movies, like how it all led to Tom Cruise, or was it Kevin Bacon?
But somebody took the original thing and turned it into that.
Okay, yeah.
Because the original thing was, somebody theorized, I can't remember his name, but that everybody on planet Earth is separated by 6 degrees of separation.
Okay.
So in other words, like somebody that you have run into has had contact with so-and-so, who then had contact with so-and-so who knew Eisenhower. You know what I mean? Like within 6 degrees, we are all like, we're only 6 degrees of separation from anybody on this earth.
You remember the movie Sergeant York?
Yes.
There when he comes back and they throw the big parade and all that stuff in New York City, and the mayor gives the key to Sergeant York.
Yeah.
The mayor of New York City, I'm friends with his great-grandson.
So you're like, okay, so through the great-grandson, through this guy, then who all did that guy come in contact with? Or
mean, that just what you're speaking of. I mean, he lives in Reed Point.
Yeah.
And his great-grandpa was the mayor of New York City back then.
Wow.
It brings that whole movie kind of.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take long if you really sit there and think about it, and you start, like you said, with your kids and stuff, you start planning it. It really is weird how you can find ways to link
people
through that stuff. I mean, we could all do it. Simply here, you could go
we could sit here and do this for hours.
I know, yeah. You can
like who you guys have all met. Like,
we could set simple start. Like, I met Kent Williams. Well, he met Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson has met who to who. Like, who do you want to? Robert Redford.
Yeah. My oldest, he sat in Dick Cheney's living room.
And I was in his office in the White House.
Boom.
Yeah.
So you have 1 degree of separation between several different ways, like to my son, or whatever. Like, he met like Eisenhower's daughter. Whatever. We just sat there and we did all of that. Like, okay, like my brother has met like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, and I could just sit here and name drop a bunch of NBA players because of his career or whatever. But like, then who all did they come in contact with?
Right.
Just weird stuff like that.
Well, I think there's even weirder ones. Like, I'm trying to think which kid. Someone here in Columbus, a few years behind us, married Jeff Dunham's daughter.
Yeah, who did? Who was that?
Kanye West came to the 307.
Yeah. So, but like I said, it's weird. Like, you can, if you wanted to link and find it, really.
And that puts you only 3 degrees from Diddy's party.
Yeah, not me. You're the fan, not me.
So who's the supplier of all the pump?
Is that baby oil in that Aquafina bottle?
No. Right. Why are you looking at me?
Well, he was in Cody, Wyoming. So
that's the twist now. It's no longer Tom Cruise or Kevin Bacon. It's like, how many degrees of separation are you from Diddy's party?
A long way.
Right.
All the way away.
Right.
7 degrees.
Yeah. Some of the ranches that he's worked on are owned by some of these super famous wealthy people that he's ran into. So look at the 6 degrees of separation with Shelby.
Shelby? How close were you to a Diddy party? We were actually talking about that today. We were talking about company slogans. There's a Bad Canyon fence. Never been to a Diddy party. Like, that was
right.
I was like, we should shoot a video right now, man.
Oh, that's hot.
I'm like, you need to distance yourself now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Address the rumors.
Well, then I guess I have a link to it too, because my uncle is out in Coeur d'Alene. He's a drywaller, so he's working houses.
Yeah.
He's working on Justin Bieber's house.
Oh, man, you're like 2 degrees of separation.
You're the closest now.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh God.
Well, then some of the people you filmed with that you had on hunts.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean, like I said, just with my boss alone, because I mean, he came up as one of the founders of modern archery and everything else. I mean, he had Ted Nugent.
I mean, that
Fred
guy
Bear.
then-
I mean, all these
Yeah.
greats. Like, I mean, I got through him. I met Ted Nugent, and then I met a bunch of all the celebrities in the outdoor world. Where I mean, everybody, still people are out there in Lee and Tiffany, and all those. I mean, people that you just like.
Speaking of Lee, did you see his elk that he killed?
I know I don't want to see that stuff.
Oh.
I went out this morning and I got busted by someone else.
Have elk envy?
I do, because it's so hard to hunt elk anymore.
It is so hard to hunt elk. Supposedly, Lee Koski has got possibly the new state record for Montana
Really?
that he just killed.
Where at? Like,
In the mountains?
I mean, we were
no, southeast Montana. He's supposedly, and there might be some controversy to it
undisclosed
already,
location.
but Lee and Tiffany have some land down on the Powder, and
Of course they do.
right, and so maybe, and they've been watching this bull for like 3 or 4 years. They bought the land so they could get land owner preference tags. And I might be speaking out my ass here, but this is what I've heard over the last couple of weeks since this picture of this bull's been coming out. So I don't know. Either way, it's a huge bull. Chuck Adams killed a 407 bull down there 2 days ago or 3 days ago.
But Smiling Chuck, he's a good trespasser. That's all I can say.
So,
But actually, that's not the first bull that I've heard this year that broke state record.
Really?
Down on the Powder. So I'm wondering if Lee bought that bull from the kid that actually shot it. Because my dad's got a picture of a 14-year-old kid down by Ashland off the Powder River that shot one, and it says it's going to score 438 and something.
really?
That's a monster.
I mean, and my dad said that I wish I had a picture off his phone. My dad doesn't answer his phone. I'd have him text me it, but it's huge.
Wow.
But it's a kid's first bull. He's 14.
Yeah.
Like, that just sucks.
It's all downhill from now, brother.
Yeah, kid didn't even get to work for it.
I know.
Oh, man.
I know.
Hey, Huey Lewis bought my wife a beer.
Really? Nice.
Yeah. At a little bar in Stevensville, Montana.
Really?
Because he has a place there.
Yeah.
He has had for years.
I
and it was,
I had a beer and got to drink with Batman.
What?
Which one?
Michael Keaton.
Ooh.
Michael Keaton came and introduced himself to us when we were camping up the boulder when we were
What?
little. Yeah.
That's cool.
You are one
So-
degree of separation from Michael Keaton. Is there even a degree
So
of separation?
I
don't
got
know
it.
how you rank that.
Yeah, it was in Pinedale, Wyoming. So it's south of Jackson, 7
Yeah.
miles. I was working there, my first job out of college, and he had a house there because all the billionaires have moved into Jackson Hole, and they keep pushing the millionaires south. So he got a little place, and there was a little brewery there, and he came in with a baseball cap pulled down low. But I mean, he's got the eyebrow. I mean, you're gonna know.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and
he was-
everybody in the bar knows.
Right.
And they know Michael Keaton's here, and I'm new, and so I'm sitting there just like trying not to geek out.
Yeah.
And I finally,
You can't handle
I kind of eye contact with him, and he kind of goes, and I'm like,
you
went
got
over there,
waved
I'm like-
over.
I'm like, oh man. So shook his hand and said, sorry. I said, you got to know, like, I'm an animator, like Batman's gonna be my thing, and I'm like, I'm gonna geek. My friends are gonna flip out when I send them. I had the little flip phone camera, the crappy ones. I wish I had a really good photo with
like
him.
2 megapixels.
And he was super cool. He's like, can I buy you a beer? And I'm like,
What?
with Batman? Yes. So those interactions are super
I
cool.
know. I'm telling you, the 6 degrees of separation game is fun and
It is fun.
interesting. And then it does really make the world feel,
Smaller.
doesn't it? We were like, how many degrees of separation are you from Putin? And then it's just like, I mean, you can track it somehow. Somebody.
Well,
And
you've
like,
met Tester.
John Tester ate cookies in my living room right here across the street from the elementary school.
You know
Okay.
he's met Putin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know if I should say that out loud, but thank you for throwing me under the Tester bus.
Yeah. But
He was here to speak to the volunteer fire department. We got a phone call and was just like, was like his assistant. Yeah, who was just like, hey, because Andre got a nomination from Tester. Thank you to Tester for
West Point.
Yes, he got it. Actually, he got one from all three of the representatives. But so
Danes is the only one that matters.
and so last minute, like he was like, hey, we're in town to speak to them. We'd like to meet him and congratulate him and whatever. And we were like, oh wow. So anyway, so they pull up at that little house on the corner there, Second and Second, like the floor is sloped, and this place is tiny.
A typical Montana house.
It was like a temporary thing while we were going to build our house. Like we didn't even have enough room for our kids and everything in this place. It had like 2 tiny little bedrooms. So my boys were living in the backyard in the shed. Like I did insulate it. I put track lighting on a dimmer switch, and I rough cut furred, and I did all this stuff in there. And it was like people would go in there and like, this is cool. But when you're outside, you're like, that's a shed. And
yeah,
John
but she sheds are a thing now.
Yeah,
that was
so
a man
his
cave.
friends would come over from school and be like, dude, this is your room. You're in the backyard. It's amazing. I don't know. I don't think he was sneaking out, but who knows, right?
You guys have a raft as your couch?
I know.
Oh, man. Let's watch some movies. I want to roll. I want to play Captain Crunch.
Tester must have left our house going like, wow, that kid overcame some challenges. But years later, he did go visit. They did like a little like field trip thing, and him and I don't know, he was in a group of cadets that went to the Capitol, and they were like, hey, who's your representatives? And let's go see if they're in their offices. And they went to Tester's office, and Tester remembered him, and he was super nice to him and everything. And like everybody was trying to get all of the representatives and senators, once they know that there's some West Point or cadets there, they're all for trying to get a photo op.
Oh, I bet.
And so that day he met Biden, Pelosi, John McCain. He, like just as they were walking these cadets through the Capitol building. So anyway, I was like, ding, 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 ding. Wow. 6 degrees of separation. That puts me, whatever.
I mean, then we just get on more of that too. Is like just through people that we know. I mean,
I'm still like 7 degrees from a Diddy party.
Yeah, Brandon, because he was the Marine, for
Brandon Tim.
Yeah, for Brandon Tim for doing the stuff for
doing the
Obama.
Yeah, Obama, the detail for the presidential detail.
Presidential detail for Obama. So I mean, right there we can link Putin. There's your Putin link right through there. We right there.
That's only 3 degrees.
Right.
4 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah.
There it is. We knew we'd find it. I was like thinking, oh yeah, Brandon. Yeah, Brandon sitting there.
Yeah.
Obama right through it. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like I said, it is a weird kind of law of the universe.
Yeah. And I did get to see Bush off when he got onto Marine One from the White House. When I got to go to the White House when I was stationed, and we won our base won the API Fuels Award because we were, and so we got to go to the White House, go to the Pentagon. That's where I went to Cheney's office, and then we got to go. President Bush was leaving on Marine One, and the press corps was like, he loves guys in uniform. If you guys go stand up front, he'll come over and say hi to everybody. And
wow.
So he came over before he went to Marine One, and we got to say hi and everything like that. So, and then we got to do the special inside tour of the White House that nobody else gets to do.
Oh, wow.
And
that's cool.
Dude, it was cool. I mean, I look at it now and I'm like, dude, that was freaking awesome. But when you're a 20-year-old kid,
and Bush
you're like,
1 was the head of the CIA in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. This was Bush 2. This was after 9/11.
Oh, okay. Well, his dad was Bush 1.
His dad was Bush 1. There you go.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I look back at it now and I was like, dude, I mean, it's pretty cool. All the shit that's going on politically aside, being in that place where
all the history,
all the history, and
I'd like to see the Resolute desk.
Yeah,
it's just a neat part of the White House that'd be kind of cool to take some pictures of.
Yeah,
like even when we were in South Carolina, we were bummed like we got to go back because I just want to go and tour the plantations.
Yeah, all the Civil War stuff,
all the war stuff. I was so looking forward to the museum, but it was closed because the power was out. And we had to go away from it, which it led us to Myrtle Beach, which was fine. We had a great time, and it got nicer as we actually got towards the beach. Just windy, but all that history was just like sitting
right
there.
At your fingertips.
And some of it I probably was like, I don't know if I really care about it, but once you start seeing it, you're like, wow, okay, now this hits home more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think it even hits more now because I'm also doing that, and then I'm listening to podcasts about what's going on in the country.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to Dan Bongino and everybody else is going off about the shootings and everything else, and I'm just sitting there getting madder and madder. And I'm like, God, I just want to go see this real history that they keep trying to change on us.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the richness of what we are and who we are. Just like this town, it's got so much cool stuff that, you know, the war stuff, even with the mine and stuff, even that I learned from Ennis. I didn't know all that stuff. You know why we really had. I mean, I kind of knew, but when he started,
This was the chromium mine?
yeah,
Yeah.
when they had to do it for the war, and they built it in a year, and he's like, yeah, they can't build them in a year now. Wink, wink. He's like, they could do it in a year if they really want to, but he's like, you know, and he's telling you, like, you know, they're stretching these cable lines across the canyons to do the carts and everything else, and they weren't using helicopters to drag that across. They were using mules and old road graders.
At the
and
museum, Penny's got one of those. I think she was getting one of those ore cars or something. She found the old photos of them with the ore cars that were suspended on those cables.
Wow.
She found old I don't know. I can't remember exactly. I'll do this totally injustice, but all of that you're talking about, Penny has a link to all of that over there.
So back to the 6 degrees of separation real quick because of the history. So April's great-grandma was little at Bill Hamilton's funeral.
That's
Okay.
Yeah.
Bill Hamilton knew John Johnston and Luther Kelly, who both went over and worked with the scouts for the Nez Perce with the Montana column, who knew Bradley.
That is that.
Who
So
went
how many
over-
degrees of separation between us and Bradley? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, but then you can
We're
go
talking
one.
about Lieutenant James Bradley.
Yes,
Yeah.
head of scouts for Montana column,
That's incredible, dude.
who went over and found the 7th Cav a day and a half after Battle of Bighorn.
And who was then killed a year later at the Battle of the Big Hole
The Nez
with
Perce.
the Nez Perce,
Yep.
Chief Joseph. He was the first one shot in the head.
Just saying.
Crazy.
Small world.
So my hero,
Yeah.
Jeremiah Johnson,
Jeremiah
somehow,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're tight.
Yeah. That's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is crazy. I hadn't thought about that. I guess I thought the other day I was like talking about her grandma, thinking like, oh wow, she knew Jim Annan because we found a book, or she has a book, Jim Annan's book of his 80 years on the Yellowstone, and there's a personal note he wrote in there to her grandma, saying, you know, referring to her nickname of Cookie, and saying, hey, Cookie, da 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 da, this big old thing in there. We were geeking out about that the other day, about like, wow, that's wild that she knew Jim Annan. And then I guess I did say it, but I wasn't playing the whole game. But I was like, and Jim Annan knew Bill Hamilton, and I guess I just didn't put it together that she would have been a child at his funeral, at Bill Hamilton's funeral. Wow,
And I'm really,
so much history.
After you saying that, I'm really digging my head because there's a gal I met in Billings years ago, and just I don't know how we got onto it. And we're talking about bloodlines and everything else, but she is a descendant from oh God, just blank my brain. Battle of the Bighorn. Custer. Yeah,
Wow.
she's like a great descendant of his.
Yeah,
Through just bloodlines and that kind of stuff, marriages and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy. You know?
Yeah.
And I mean, it didn't hit you and you're going,
You know,
when she starts naming it off and she's like, well, my so-and-so and she was married to so-and-so and he was married. And you're like, and it could have been 6 separations. I didn't count them. Then it wasn't a thing. But
now it's,
you know, but like I said, that's what's cool. Like you've been places, we've been places, you've been places in a small town. Like I said, nobody expects us to
be able to link out like that.
Yeah, no one really cares about Columbus, Montana, in the grand scheme of things. But when you start thinking about where people and places have come and gone through this town, and done, it's a lot bigger in a smaller picture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and that's cool.
It is cool.
And I think that's what, I think, like, I wish, and like my kids kind of go on that route, but like get all our kids that are growing up now, I mean, they're so locked on their phones and stuff.
Yeah.
Don't realize it's a small world, but it's very big if you just open up your eyes a little bit and kind of pursue
and talk to people.
Yeah.
Sit down and talk to people. Sit in an airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've sat down all my years of mining around, and you'll sit down.
Yeah,
and
you've mined
there'll
all
be-
over the place.
And there's someone sitting there, and you're like, start chatting with them, and you're like, and they're like, oh, you know this person? I'm like, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
out in the middle of nowhere, be in Dallas or Atlanta or somewhere, and you meet people that know people that just
Yeah.
all over the world. It's like you said, it's a small world.
Yeah, we're up in Nye. I think it was, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, but there was a guy that drives by, and he's like, I mined with that guy at the test site. Shelby's just like, man, I mined with that guy at the test site. I'm like, who's mined at the test site? Like the test site outside of Las Vegas, Nevada. Shelby's mined there, like on the edge of Area 51. Shelby's been out there mining, and he's just like, there's some guy just driving by down from the mine, and he's like, I mined with that guy at the test site. So yeah,
we showed.
That's wild.
Yeah, me and him were both supervisors up there when we were doing those tunnel projects, and we were only 10 miles, give or take, from Area 51 to the
That's
east.
wild.
So what he's not telling you, like you told us about having the camera taking pictures of the North
yeah.
Korean. So he's actually got that when he packs his horses in to go hunting. What he's really doing, he's going in and getting some of that special mineral that's in that ship part that he stole and stashed back up in the foothills somewhere.
Yeah.
We could start some massive conspiracy theory about Shelby.
It was cool, the stuff, being right close there,
Yeah.
the B-2 Sprint, the new stealth bomber, the big wing one. It was there, and like every Wednesday they were doing their little test flights, and you'd see those, and it was cool. And then you could watch the Blue Angels doing their test, trainings and stuff. They were right there out of Indian Springs.
Yep.
I mean, we thought it was they were launching missiles and stuff, and it was them doing their maneuvers. It was really cool to watch.
Yeah. When I was a kid, we got to do a tour of the test site. And so this is like, I don't know, 86, 87. One of the kids that I went to school with, his dad worked for the Department of Energy. Worked at the test site. I don't really know what the guy did, but we got our Boy Scout troop to go to the test site, take a tour. We're all going there. We're all like 12, 13 years old. We're all wide-eyed, and we got like the radiation badges, and because they want to track to see what we got exposed to. Anyway, we got to take a little bus and a little van or something and go cruise all around the test site and see all the stuff of all where they have done the above ground testing and all the steel beams that they put on concrete.
It's cool.
All
those
that
craters
stuff out
are
there.
huge.
Yeah, and the craters, all those stuff, and they're like, this one hasn't collapsed yet. And there's like big flat ground, and they're like, but 1957, this went off, and it just hasn't collapsed and caused a crater. So nobody's walked out on top of that since then.
What do you mine at the test site?
The ground there is very unique. It's a compacted volcanic ash is what the soil we were mining through, and they were doing underground explosive tests with just TNT. And the way they explained it to me is they were doing between like the area up Craters of the Moon, there's that laboratory up there, and they would set up seismic testing. They'd set bombs off there, certain sizes, and they could tell how big of a nuke, say Iran or Iraq was setting off underground. They could tell how big the nuke was by how big the TNT charge they were setting off. They could use
like seismic stuff.
Yeah, very seismic stuff. So,
cool.
Say Iran set off a nuke, and they had seismic. They could kind of tell how big of that nuke they were playing with. So,
did you say? That's nothing. Let me show you what I can do with some info.
Yeah, we could play.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever said this story on here. I think I have told this story, but I was sneaking up on Shelby one time. We're working underground, up here at the mine. I was sneaking up on him. It was right at the end of shift, and I know he's mining somewhere around up around the corner. And I see the Toyota that's our trip for our group of guys, and it's our wheels to get back to the surface. And dude, you know what, dude? I'm going to totally say stuff I shouldn't be saying, but right? Okay. So
7 years, man.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, right? We're
6 degrees of separation.
Yeah, right. I sneak up. I'm like, oh, Shelby's coming. I we were always trying to scare each other underground. Okay. And so I climbed into the truck and I shut the door and I'm laying in the seat, and I'm trying to stay down and I see his little headlight coming and it's pitch black in there. And he comes around the corner and I'm not thinking, and I should have been thinking, but I hear and like the hood lifts up and I'm like, what's he doing? Are we broke down? I'm like, I don't know. We don't want to be broke down because we got to get to the surface soon. Like, this is the end of the day. And I'm like laying there and all of a sudden I hear go, 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 go. And I don't have any earplugs in or, anything like this. The pressure is just like your chest feels like it's just caving in. And he had just set off a round at the face, which is down there just like not that far away. And this whole thing goes off. And I had gone there to scare him. And he's like, what are you doing, Cupcake? And I'm just like, oh, I wasn't even able to surprise him because he opens up the door and I'm like in shock, still trying to breathe. He just stood there and took it like a man, like around the corner from this round going off. Anyway, I shouldn't have told that, but we're neither one of us is ever going to get a job back up there, right? All right.
Nope. I mean, I think the Russians would have to take over again.
Yeah, right? Yeah, they'd be that desperate for us? Yeah.
Well, like I said, my dad's roommate that was in the Air Flying F4s and stuff.
Yeah.
So he was doing that in the 80s and 90s and stuff. And so they were doing tests on the effects of, time on the body and stuff for pilots and stuff. Basically, they were flying into like New Zealand and stuff, and they were spying on the Russians and seeing what they're doing in movements and stuff. So he was always in intelligence and stuff. I wish I could tell some of the stuff he's told me recently because he still gets briefs and stuff.
Wow.
And it was cool because he's like,
that'd be interesting.
That I can't remember which one of the Iranian guys that got killed on the rooftop. He's like, yeah, I know which missile they used on him.
The Hezbollah guy.
Yeah.
Where Iran just retaliated with 186 cruise missiles into Israel and Tel Aviv.
And we were taking them out, and so was the Iron Dome. And
it's getting crazy out there.
They said only one person died because it was Iron Dome took out a missile, and the remnants came down and landed on somebody and killed them. But then 5 Iranians died because one of their missiles blew up before it got off the ground.
Oh, my gosh.
And like I said, for a long time, I used to watch Super Weapons. Watching all the really cool high-tech stuff. And, the things that he's told me, like, that they have like, tactical where they strike so they only kills one person. And they all do it from drones now. Like, I'm a drone pilot, but I'm sitting there going, man, can I get a hold of some of those? Because I got some targets I'd like to, maybe pursue. But like I said, he was just saying that they watch them with drones and everyone's a creature of habit and they just found the right day, and he's like, and they know it's only got a kill radius of 10 feet, so it doesn't, no one else around. It's cool, but I mean, it's freaky cool.
It's crazy what they're doing with drones right now in like Ukraine and other places too. But man, there's just so much of that you can find on X. I see too many videos of them flying drones into people. Yeah. It's crazy what you can just pull up now and find and see what the whole face of warfare is changing right now so drastically all over the place.
It's not face-to-face warfare.
It's not.
It's
and one of the things that has also struck me too is I'm like, the guys that are doing this, because there's like a mechanized unit, like that's now they're just printing drones. They are printing drones, and they're just flying them into people individually. And I actually saw an article, I didn't have time to look at it yet, but on a drone pilot who has over 100 kills. He sits in a room with the tight little headset on, and he just flies drones into Russians. And it said that he was starting to have a hard time dealing with it. And I'm like, that's what I've been thinking. I'm like, how do these guys a lot of these guys are just unarmed. And I get it. They're invaders in their country, and so they feel how they feel about it. But, like, everything's changing. Like, this isn't, like, back in the good old days, if you want to call that, of warfare when, you had a sniper out there, but he still had skin in the game, and now these guys, there's no skin in the game. Like, that's got to be terrifying when there's just some guy with a headset on miles and miles away who's just personally flying right up into you and just taking you out. Like, that's got to be terrifying. You've seen these videos where the guys are just like running from it. I've seen guys begging, you know, and then they just fly the drone right into them. Boom, gone.
Yeah, 'cause you can find a lot of those hidden videos on Instagram.
Oh, these are
like, I mean, there is one where they have a guy flying over a Russian soldier in a foxhole.
Yeah.
And there's two of them. They have it over the top of it, and they've got a little explosive charge on it, and you can see the guys blowing. They can see the drone, and they start running. The drone just keeps following them. And so they both just go back to the hole, and they're just begging and begging. And you can hear the Ukrainian soldiers just laughing, and they just drop it. And
it's terrifying.
The screen goes blank, and you're like,
yeah. On X, there is stuff like I've had to like kind of quit scrolling on there so much because once you've seen them and you've watched them through, the algorithm starts to send you more of that. There's so many disturbing things on there. I saw one just the other day of a drone that goes, and there's two soldiers running. They're running. The drone comes and hits the first soldier, blows up. He goes down on the ground, but he's not dead. The second soldier just keeps running behind him, coming up toward him, and he just looks up at the guy and taps at his head, and the guy just leans over and shoots him in the head, and then just keeps running. And it's like, and it's all videoed because they have another drone there that's always like watching to see how, you know, monitoring the situation. What do we got to change with the next drone that comes in? And boom, just upload it. It's just on X. You see the whole thing clear, like totally clear. And you're just like, the guy gets hit, boom, he goes down. His buddy runs up behind him. He just taps at his head, points at his head.
And the thing is too is, like, you know, our military is getting all that data too, so they're using that, and they're refining. Like, they're going to refine the snipers. Like, you're going to have a sniper, and he's going to be. They know there's a counter sniper a mile and a half away, and they can't get an angle on him. They're going to have a little backpack thing. They hit a spring. The drone's going to pop out, and he's going to send spotter is just going to spot over the top of it
and take him out. There's going to be a gun on that drone. I mean. I don't know. It's getting crazy. It's changing so rapidly.
Fast.
You know, I don't know. I saw a thing the other day where in China they did an aerial display with like over 8,000 drones doing lights at night. Mm-hmm. But then quickly they outdid it with over 10,000 drones within like a week. Anyway, so, you know, how do you...
They're not going to be soldiers anymore. They're going to be technicians, you know.
Yeah.
So that's really going to be the guys that are the geeks that are going to be controlling warfare. And then we can get right into, you know, hey, let's just bring Terminator on with all this AI stuff. Then you start getting all that crap put in there, and I mean, it's just going to get
and that's
going to be weird.
That's where my thought goes when I saw that article, because I actually just had this. I was talking with my sons about all that, and we're all watching Band of Brothers together right now, one episode a week, and so we get on a video call with each other, and we all like geek out and talk about war and history and stuff. Anyway, that's how that all came up, but. I said to them, I said, you know, I see all this stuff and it's all changing so quickly and it's becoming even more and more dehumanizing. But these guys that are running these drones, how long is it before those guys can't sleep anymore? And so what they're going to just do is say, hey, look, just, you know, for everybody's mental health, you know, we aren't going to have guys making that call anymore. We're just going to let AI, here's a sector, anything that's in this sector can get eliminated. And so in the guise of, this is what just my thoughts or feelings, opinion, whatever you want to call it, that's going to be the gateway of like, hey, we need to protect these guys' mental health. So
we're going to use AI.
We're just going to use AI to go ahead and start making these decisions. And if this area, you know, if you're in this area, you're fair game. And that's how it'll creep into where it's just, now it's, why do we put people into these areas? Because now it's just anything that is a drone, whether it's rolling around on the land or flying or in the water, it's going to get scary real quick.
And then AI turns on us.
Well, that's
and the extinction of the human race.
Yeah, that's where Skynet comes in. But like I said, there's movies on it. Like, you know, the one with Jessica Biel where they have the smart plane that finds its own thing, and all of a sudden it starts to get human feelings and stuff, and it sees what the government's telling it to do. It says no, so then it starts picking its own targets, and it starts picking some on our side and their side. And because it's self-sustaining and it can connect and get its own refueling planes, they can't shoot it down. It's smarter than everybody, you know. And it's like
now,
how do you control it? And like I said, you know, Elon Musk is.
What happens when it figures out that I don't want to be turned off?
Yeah, and that's it. And it's like, you know, he's a genius, and he says AI is gonna destroy us. Yeah. And I mean, just think if we all use cameras. I mean, my new R5, like tracking an eye of someone I'm taking a picture of, that person be walking around, and it's like
it's got it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hard technology, not really anymore. That's simple technology. But if you, like I said, you had a field of coordinates and you put it in thermal mode and it can differentiate body heats and everything else, and all of a sudden it's like
crazy.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bank, 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 and then I mean, so like I said, it will change everything. That does.
And now they have now they have drones that they'll put up where a guy can take it out of his backpack, and he can launch it by just throwing it, and it's like a plane, almost like a glider, and it goes up, and it has a solar panel on it and a battery pack, and it'll climb to an altitude of like 20,000 feet, 15,000 feet or so, and then it has an 80 times zoom on the camera, and it's tracking, everything about whoever it wants to track. As that solar panel all through the day, it's charging its battery, and then it continues flying through the night until the sun comes back up. Then it recharges its battery. It can stay up
Indefinitely.
almost indefinitely. I mean, and it's so lightweight and so small, and it's up so high that you don't see it. You don't even notice that you're being tracked. And that's like common now.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and like just even
and with thermal.
Oh,
and like it's.
And I mean, thermal is in infrared or just basics. Like
Yeah.
I said, I wish I could.
It's an old technology now.
Old technology,
It is.
because like I said, talking with guys that still have some intelligent clearance and stuff. I won't dispose any of that stuff, but they tell me he's like infrared and everything. That stuff's like old technology.
I mean,
they still use it.
I saw a YouTube video the other day called "Your Night Vision Will Get You Killed," and they're like, if you're a guy who's a hometown prepper guy and who's a whatever, and you think that you've got your little tactical setup and stuff, and you've got night vision, so you think you're good and you think you have an advantage, you will be overconfident, and some guy with thermal will take you out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
And we can go hunt coyotes with thermal.
Right. And it's so
just out,
accessible.
just out on a rifle scope.
That's what his thing was.
So
it's like,
accessible.
that's not the next level. The
No.
level to be at now is thermal. If you're not at least at that level, and I don't know what the next level is, but
And it's not even that expensive.
No, it's not.
It's accessible.
and it keeps coming down as time goes on.
Yeah.
Just like everything else,
Yeah.
The first thermal one was like $12,000, and they keep dropping and dropping and dropping.
Now you can
and
get it
dropping.
for hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, attachments and stuff.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about.
I mean,
I
I
mean, you
still-
could take these little M5 cameras here and send them in and get them changed to infrared.
Change to infrared.
Infrared. Well, infrared is a type of thermal too. It's just a little hotter. It's a little harder to depict certain objects and stuff. But you could totally use that camera, and you could mount on your helmet and have a little spec guy there. You could turn that into a complete thermal unit for yourself and then protect your home. I didn't say I do that at my house.
it's crazy just the level of technology in our hands. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember going out hunting coyotes at night, and we had to use the red light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Call them in, flip the red light as they're coming in close, and then switch to light that you can actually shoot through right before you squeeze the trigger, and don't even need that anymore.
No.
No,
So-
it's crazy. Like I said, I mean, it's awesome that we're kind of exploring all these new technologies, and it does have good. Like I said, I think we always go to the bad because I'm always skeptical. I'm just more skeptical when the government has control of it.
Right.
But like I said, right now, I'm just thinking like North Carolina, you got mules in, but you also see now that, I'm not going to invest in it, but I could, is like, now you got people even here in Columbus, they're using, the big drones to go and spray their fields and stuff and control and spot that stuff. It's just like these people in North Carolina, the government's trying to shut down these helicopter pods that are going and dropping food and stuff. But if you had those big drones, because of their lip capabilities, you could be using...
You can lift people out of there.
Yeah. I mean, and they were using them for that same drone. They were using for water rescues and whatever else. I'm like, man, if they just had enough of those built right now, you could stock them full of water and medical supplies. And again, like you said, you could almost use AI and just be like, hey, find people. And then if they find it, have them give them a sign and say, they're waving their hands going SOS, then...
Just like your R5 has you can set it to focus more on an animal or a car or a person. It's just a camera now. That's just a camera now. So yeah, you're right. Like you could just have AI identify just about anything. It's scary, and they could just go in and do all kinds of things. So yeah, we're all going to get used to these things because of those good things that they can do. But there's always some jerk out there who's trying to go to the...
Well, there's always, like I said, what's the famous line? Again, I'm going to back Batman, but it's like, sir, there's always someone in the world that just wants to watch it burn.
Yeah.
So you're always going to have evil, and that's
Yeah.
just it. I mean, that's why we have what we have.
Yeah.
There's always just going to be somebody out there that's really they just want to watch the world burn. But again, like I said, even like my little drone 4 with it, it's got the active track and everything else, and it can distinguish people and cars, and then it's got a little controller, and I can tell it to move and film from the right side, from the front.
Yeah.
From the back to the side, and then it's still got object detection, so it's going, so it sees the trees, it moves itself away. And I didn't think that stuff worked, and I tried it through my parents' bottom through the cottonwoods with my dog, and it followed like it was nothing. It just tracked it, and I just moved it to the right side of it, to the left, front, around. And
so how hard is it going to be for them when they're like, yeah, just follow that soldier, and it just follows them, and whether they're trying to get under that tank. Man, it's getting crazy. You know what's interesting too is like, I guess I got this from which book? It was Marine Sniper, the story of Carlos Hathcock in Vietnam.
That's an awesome one.
Okay, so that's such a great one, right? You get and so, but in there, I think he explains it in there that being a sniper wasn't like an honorable profession there for a while, like. Now we elevate snipers, right? Like we make movies about snipers, whatever. But even our guys, if they had a sniper in the unit, a lot of times guys didn't like that guy. If this is what I learned from this was because that wasn't considered honorable. Like that was terrifying, and nobody really liked the thought of snipers. They didn't like when the enemy had snipers, and you weren't doing kind of like honorable kind of warfare if you're a sniper, because you're hidden and you're whatever. And when you go back even further, right, it was ungentlemanly if you didn't stand up and face it in a line and let's take turns shooting at each other, right?
And wear red coats. And, just call it as it is. Like I said, and they're like, no, we're going to be just like the natives here. We're going to move around, hide behind trees and shoot behind trees. And you guys can stand there because you're easy targets.
Right. Yeah. And they thought we were all a bunch of just cowards and dishonorable and everything else because we wouldn't stand out there and trade shots like that, right? And so it's all progressed, and then that was like, well, that's not smart, and then it's progressed, and then we get more comfortable with this, and then anyway, even in World War II, apparently, like that's what I'm saying, like guys were like, being a sniper was not really an honorable thing. Anyway. So in that book, he explains how hard of a sell it was for them to say, we want to start a Marine sniper school. And they're like, no, we're not doing that. And anyway, now it's such an integral part of special operations or anything, right? Now snipers is just a thing now, and everybody looks up to that. And anyway, so now here's the next level, drone operator. Like, you're even less skin in the game. Like, you don't got to go put on the ghillie suit anymore. And I don't know, but
sit in your living room and
and I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm watching the way that people post these videos and how they're just mocking these people that they're just blowing up, that are begging for their life.
Because it's the video game mentality.
Mm-hmm. It is so dehumanizing. Yeah. And I'm like, so quickly we have like accepted that this is not only okay, but it's to be glorified. And it's like, I don't know. That's been on my mind a lot lately.
Well, and I think that's one of the big problems that social media created. Because, there's people that are out there doing it, but how many of those videos have you watched? Is the human mind meant to see those kind of horrific acts over and over and over again on a 4x4 screen?
Mine isn't.
No.
It's bothering me.
There's no way. And it's bothering you. I mean, you've talked about it essentially for the last 45 minutes.
I'll shut up.
No. But you know what I'm saying.
I know. I'm just kidding.
But the young society.
But in
that's
the young
a norm.
society,
that's
it's
a
norm.
Yeah.
We're not programmed to see that kind of carnage over and over again. That saturated with it.
And it started with video games, I believe.
Oh, I'm sure it did. It did. Have you ever read On Killing by Colonel Grossman? So Colonel Dave Grossman, he's in charge of, or he was in charge of, what's called warrior science, and he's written a number of books, but two of them, and they're really big. They're really well read in law enforcement and the military. One is called On Combat and On Killing, and he talks about how Vietnam really was World War II. Vietnam was really the turning point for how the military reprogrammed humans to be killers and not soldiers anymore. And he goes into it now. It's how the video game world was tied into all that in a way to start desensitizing kids at such a young age that killing's okay.
Yeah.
And that we're not killing humans, we're killing video game characters, and it carries over into the military. And now, I mean, you're seeing that those are the people that made this technology. Those kids that started playing the Atari and the original Nintendo and the original Super Contra, which is a badass game. I remember playing it. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that created this technology that now we're killing people from our living rooms with drones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I play Call of Duty all the time, and it's like, it's nothing. But again, if you watch those videos here, that's so true. But the other thing is, like, you think about it, like, even with your kids, and if you look at my kids, like, if they come across a video and we say you got a grandmother getting jumped or something and beaten, and then you got 5 people around them filming it because they want to have the content and creator.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I think they're going to go viral.
Go viral. But the ones even that get more views is when that happens, you get that one kid that actually has some, honor and stuff, and goes in there and helps and stops it. And then people are like, "Oh my God, he's such a hero." Well, yeah, because that's the normal human response. Should be done. Yeah. You don't just sit there and watch someone get stabbed or.
It's like now the new normal response is grab the phone out, document it, instead of get in there and help somebody.
Yeah, the guy's getting run over by his own car. Don't just sit there and watch him. Like, go stop the car. I mean, but no, it's like, oh no, let's pull out the camera and do it. But then you get that one kid that gets caught because someone pulled out the camera and wasn't going to do anything, and he runs in there and saves 2 people from a burning building. Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, such a hero. But I got it on tape, but I'm going to be... And the person that filmed it gets more hits and likes than the kid that actually did the deed.
Yeah.
And that's the culture that we've been created, and it's never going to change. It's going to get worse, I think.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. It's going to totally get worse.
Just that. And again, it's desensitization, but I mean, again, you can bend realities and people just... but how does the mind process that? How does our generation's better, I think, off to handle it compared to the new generation? I just don't think they don't have a view of that in the world. Like,
when things really hit the fan, it's going to be really eye-opening for that younger generation.
And it really comes down to that whole thing, like as a boxer,
it's real.
Everyone thinks they can win until they get hit in the face for the first time. Or everybody thinks they're a good soldier until they get shot at for the first time, feel the bullet whiz by them, and then it changes them. You like Band of Brothers, Ply. He gets sit there, and in the first one he just cowered in the hole, or Blythe. Yeah, Blythe sit in the hole, and and he has the first signs of what we know now as PTSD, where he goes blind there, and he can vision and stuff, and it's just because the brain is just so overloaded with this sensation that should not be a norm, should not be something that we deal with, and it's going to be.
Yeah,
I think that's the sad part about it.
It's like our grandparents that were in, say, World War II or Korea or Vietnam, even. I mean, that might be our parents. A lot of them didn't even want to talk about it because it wasn't a norm. They went and did it because they had to, but it wasn't something, we're going to go brag about because we went and had to kill someone or those kind of things. It's not normal to do that kind of stuff.
That's interesting you bring that up, because that's also another thing that we also discuss, that very thing right there, that people are like those older generations didn't talk about things, and a lot of them struggled more with it, and now it seems like everybody, I think my son brought it up, my oldest, he brought it up and saying, it seems like people now don't have as hard of a time talking about these things. Was it just a generational thing? Was it just that it wasn't acceptable, or it was looked down upon to share those things, or struggle with emotion or whatever? But I was kind of thinking, or at least my thought on it was that although we've been in conflicts, and we've been in, guys have been in Iraq, or guys have been in Afghanistan, I just don't know, and I know that people have been through terrible, horrific experiences, and that people have PTSD, but the level of carnage that went on during either like a Vietnam, a Korea, a World War II, where 5,000 guys just died today. We haven't experienced those kinds of numbers.
What was the Gulf War, like 2,500 through the whole war? Something like that.
Something like that. But it's not. Yeah. But like the things like where
they could lose that much in a day.
Exactly. And I had a great uncle. So my grandma's brother, my Uncle Byron, he was at Bastogne. And so my dad had went to him and said, man, and this was back when Band of Brothers just came out, and said, hey, so I saw Band of Brothers. It was really powerful. I believe, were you at Bastogne? I thought my mom had said you'd been and he just, he was like 90 something years old, and he just stopped and just teared up and just started to shake his head. He couldn't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad asked his kids, saying, has he ever talked about his experiences? They're like, we've never heard him.
It's the way my grandpa
never
was.
talking about it.
My grandpa never talked about any of that stuff.
Yeah, I have an uncle on my mom's side, and he was in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Everything else, and I don't think I've heard my Uncle Corby say anything ever. I mean, he drove trucks and he was, mechanics and stuff. But he was on some of the major areas and stuff. But he's never, and I've never asked him. And part of me too is like, I would like to know the stories just more for the history and know more about my uncle. But I also realize that that's probably a very sensitive subject.
Right.
And I got another good friend on my grandfather's side, and he still got shrapnel in his leg from Vietnam being in a PT boat that got hit with a missile.
Wow.
And he's got the little cards when he goes through the airport, and they're like, oh, what do you got in? And you're like, you got some, new pins or something from a broken leg. And he's like, no, I got a piece of shrapnel from Nam.
Wow. Yeah.
It's still embedded in my legs. And
so what are your guys' thoughts on that then? Is it just a generational thing, or is it exposure to a different level of carnage?
Carnage.
Totally different.
Yeah. That's our mental health problem.
Yeah.
I think it's the majority of it.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the recent shooting of that 14-year-old kid that was the school shooting recently, and look how it's just a window when he's sitting in that courtroom. Like he's not even present and everything else. But there's no empathy. There's no feeling there. It's just cold.
Yeah.
At 14? Really? I mean, again, like I said, it's so hard to see that stuff. But I mean, that's why we have to have security at schools now. That's your option. It's just the way of the world, but it's just changed that way. It's been created that way, though. I mean, not just social media, just the environment we all in. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, but I mean, when I was younger in the 80s, when you looked at presidential elections and stuff, you didn't have this crap, media crap that we see today, and this deplorable stuff, and you can never tell what's real and what's not real, and then you got to go find out for yourself, and you can't even trust that information.
We were talking about that today too.
It's just a hard culture to deal with.
Yeah.
And you got to go with your gut, and you're just like, well, I don't want complete evil that I know is evil. This could be evil. And again, it's like, oh, your only two options are choose an evil. Well, I don't want to choose either.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to choose the one I know is going to be worse.
Right. Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's a very hard position to be in.
Yeah.
And that's, like I said, I think really that is a downgrade of our culture.
Yeah.
And
everything seems to be kind of elevating or escalating, or in a very dramatic way. Like, it feels like almost like a false sense of urgency. Like, oh, everything could just fall apart right now. Like, that's how it feels. But I still feel like I just don't think we have any concept of I know we've talked about this, and I hate to always talk about the same things, but when you're reading history, you're like, oh, like the stuff that led to the Revolutionary War, they were dealing with those problems 100 years before. Those factors that really kind of led the problems with taxation without representation and some of these things. These guys, I mean, these things were happening for a long time before people got uncomfortable enough to where they did something. So anyway, I'm just saying, like, now it's like feels like things are happening, and you just like feels like it's just right around the corner, like, oh, everything's going to fall apart. But it's so hard to pinpoint, because you're kind of like, is it there yet? Are we uncomfortable enough? Or is society, are we on that tipping point yet? Because then when you figure it out, like I've heard other people say, oh, we're in 1773 right now. We're just at 1773. We're within 3 years, or whatever it may be. But then, maybe we're at 1693. Maybe we've got 80 years to go.
Yeah, maybe we're less than 30 days away.
And there's that.
I mean, honestly, as stuff is going on, I'll just admit it. I'm so mad. Like I said, I just want everything to go back to being structured and constitutional the way I remembered as a kid.
Yeah.
It's not there, and it's not because of you and I and people voting people in. Really, it's just that you got those 2 or 3 people that got in there, and they keep changing it so much and changing and that change and rigging the game, and you're just sitting there going, I want it back.
Did Amazon go on strike? Because I know the port workers.
The longshoremen did.
I know the longshoremen
on the
did,
East Coast.
But then, like you say, you don't know what's true. But I saw somebody post something like, "Well, get ready because now Amazon workers are going on strike." Did that happen yet?
I don't know.
Because that's been my thing that I've been saying to people for a little while is I'm like, hey, we're not uncomfortable enough. You know why? Because you can get on your phone and you can order something from Amazon and it'll be here on Tuesday. And so we're not uncomfortable enough. And then all of a sudden within within 24 hours ago or something, I saw somebody say Amazon's going on strike. And I was like, oh, now we can't order from Amazon and get it on Tuesday. Maybe we're maybe
that'll ruin the world.
You know what I mean? Like that's to me is my tipping point.
But just I'm gonna jump right into conspiracies right now, just because I think they're absolutely coming, and I'm saying 30 days. It could be the most uncomfortable that it's gonna push.
Yeah.
Depending on which way it goes, and I'm real serious about it because you can't take coincidences of things happening anymore. It's just like, oh, that happened. That was weird. Verizon going down.
Right.
All right. They're already doing it. Today, Bank of America lost Eastern Seaboard where people had no money in their wallets. Here's another one that I just learned about in North Carolina. You know, the big mountain town that got washed away that's completely not there.
Castle Rock or whatever.
That Castle Rock. And you're a miner. You know what was going to go in there? The
lithium mining.
The lithium mine to create the batteries for all these cars and everything else. And you look at the companies that have stake in that. You got BlackRock. You got everything else. And
they had to wipe out the town.
Yeah. And you know what? It's just like the new movie Twisters.
Now it's getting interesting in here.
Now it's the movie Twisters. Like if you look in Twisters, if you've seen the new one.
I haven't seen the new one. No.
So the new one has it where the guy that's trying to do this research and get this new technology to find out about tornadoes, they're still kind of using a Dorothy thing from the previous one, but they've got some new sensor RAS, and he's getting funding for it, but he's working for this guy. So what happens when they go into a town, he's going in and doing exactly what those people are going to happen in these cities. They're going to come and give them the value of their property to buy it from them so they can own it all.
Yep.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. You watch.
Is that
it will happen.
That's what they were accusing people of in Hawaii.
Yep.
Exactly the same thing. And why are they all getting $750 again from the government? Great, guys. We just gave $8 billion to Ukraine.
On top of the other 200.
Yeah, and then you sit there and you look, okay, so they come in and buy that. So that's not coincidental to me anymore. But again, this storm they knew about for 3 days. Everyone knew it was 3 days. But all of a sudden, these dams that have gone through worse storms than this break free.
Did you notice the water wasn't going over the spillways? So they didn't have the spillways open. So it created so much pressure.
It's the same thing as this year. I mean,
I love that for small town hick guys. Yeah. We're all pretty dang informed. I'm like, what? And did you notice they wasn't going over the spillways? I'm like,
but you do notice this stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm like, I love that. But isn't that crazy?
You sit there and it's like, again, is it a conspiracy? I don't think that you can. I don't think conspiracies exist anymore. They're just gonna be what they're gonna be.
Yeah.
The whole Hawaii thing is still going on. It's horrific. I mean, is that recovered? No. Is these towns gonna recover?
They don't want to talk about it anymore.
No. Yeah. And again, right now, they're already trying to pass off this information about the relief with all kinds of other things. The missile strike, they're trying to throw in another indictment on Trump just to throw off all the coverage of it so it goes away. Yeah. Why? Because they don't want to show the world. You're talking about the desensitization. If we could see what was going on there, I would want to go and find a way to get those big drones and help people fly food.
Yeah.
I would donate my town.
It's a big smoke screen. They have to keep us looking at our phones.
Yeah.
And, we
got to see
the
who's
next great thing.
Well, we got to see who's next on the Diddy list.
Right. That too. Well,
that whole thing too.
Yeah. But I mean,
why did that just come up?
Why did that just come up now?
And why haven't the Epstein's files been released?
Yeah.
I'm sure they're all linked.
Oh, they are.
Because the people that are doing the stuff that are going to happen in this little town are part of the Epstein list. They're all involved.
Yeah.
It's that, again, you got, 350 million people in the U.S., and it comes down to less than 10,000 people that are screwing us.
Yeah.
At all rates.
Yeah.
Literally.
And I mean, that's not even a percent, folks.
I know.
That's just what it is. And you sit there and just you want to cry about it, but it's like you got to sit there and go, okay, I can't say that all this bridge damage, this boat slid into this bridge and took out a major bridge. Oh, this happened again, a bridge. Oh, we've had 15 chicken fires burned down, big Tyson plants, big food control,
plywood plants.
I mean, you can't tell me it's a coincidence. Like, they've been running for 35, 40 years.
No problem.
Oh, electrical fire. Now the whole chicken farms, and now our chicken prices are going up. Oh, hey, Bill Gates has got this new food additive that they cover on food that's poison, and you got to figure out which food companies you can't buy from. Like, I go and buy all my produce from Costco because they don't use that. They won't buy any produce with that dip in it because it's toxic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just control. You just sit there and like, is it conspiracy or is it real?
It's not. It's
when people are dying, it's real.
Yeah.
I just
me.
ruined Milo's consumption of shredded cheese while we were waiting today.
Oh yeah, we pulled up at the shop and he just ruined shredded cheese for me. I'm just like, thanks, dude. Like, he's like,
The sawdust or whatever, the anti-clumping.
the anti-clumping stuff.
Additive.
He had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But then-
ruined it for him.
Did you see there was a test that came out in 2022 and they're just now talking about it, but this came out over 2 years ago now. They did a huge study on Roundup. They tested human urine for, I don't know, I can't remember how many thousand people they tested. 80%
Have glyphosate in it.
had glyphosate in their urine.
And
we're
never,
eating-
never been around it.
And they've never been around. Yeah, they've never been around it. We're eating that shit every day.
So I bought so my wife and I, my mom is for my dad. My dad's kind of a prepper. He's got stuff. And she's really pissed that she didn't let him, like 15 years ago, like bury a couple container ships and stock it like he wanted to, because she's like, he was an idiot. But when 2020 hit, it all hit. And so we still got food supplies, and that's why now we have our own chickens. And that's why we're buying herbal books and stuff, because we're buying these books in hardcover, because if the phone goes off and you got it downloaded and it
What
goes
good
away,
is it?
what's good is it?
Yeah.
But like one of the other things too is like, I mean, I hate weeds too. I don't like doing my yards, but it's to kill dandelions.
yeah.
And that's one of the best.
Things for heart.
Yeah.
For your heart is dandelion.
Dandelion.
So
I mean, again, is it conspiracy, or is it just set up to be the way it is?
like where you said you're getting hard copies of things. So I just actually, this is crazy that we're all talking about this. So I'm going to go ahead and just.
I had to break the conspiracy. I couldn't hold it.
No,
anymore.
you're fine.
No, you're totally fine. No, we talked
made
about
it.
this.
We made it an hour. I was pretty good.
Yeah. No, but so I had a thought the other day, and I actually reached out to my family on this, and I just had this thought, and I was like, I don't know, like, I think it was that in Bangladesh, they shut the internet off. Okay, and so
No, it was India.
okay,
They did shut the internet off in India for a while.
okay. So, but April asked me. She's like, "Did you
Why
see?"
was I getting spam calls then?
Why was I?
That's
Africa.
That's the other side of Bangladesh. There's a lot of people in Bangladesh. That's the other call center that wants
Well, I think there was
your
some-
grandmother's social security number, favorite pet.
Yeah.
Because April said to me, she's like, "Hey, did you see what happened there?" And we looked it up, and they're like, "Sure enough, because of all the rioting and everything, they had they'd shut off the internet, you know." And so, and we all know that's a possibility, and you know, we all are aware that they could just shut off the power, EMPs. Okay, so then I started to have this thought, and I thought, you know, how accustomed are we to having just the ability to get on YouTube, any how-to, anything, and just there's information, somebody's made a video on it of how to do anything and everything, right? You can just find it, and we're so used to it now, right? So I was thinking about that, and I just thought, like, what do you do? Like, you can only, like, we've bought books too. I bought books. I got lots of books on things, but like, if you got to pick up and you got to move, you got to carry all these books around. And I thought about this. I just thought, what if we were to actually just, instead of ordering the books or whatever, what if I just ordered a big external hard drive? And this whole thing kind of morphed. And I'll give you my idea that I actually ran by my brothers and sisters. Everybody was like, that actually sounds like a good idea. I said, you know what? I said, why don't everybody just get it's called NAS. It's a network attached server. It's just a big external hard drive, and I can have one, and like you can have one, but we're on the same network. So if I drop something onto my hard drive, it can get sent to your hard drive, so you have it. And a lot of companies use them because they're like, I video here, but I got editors over here, here, and here, and I put it on here, and I can control the information that I need to send to them, and overnight it's going to upload all of this to them. They can work on it, okay? So I started to think about that, and I thought, so as I'm doing a how-to video, whether it's something on my truck, like, or some vehicle, or I'm like, I know I changed the thermostat in that thing. I looked up a YouTube video years ago and I just can't remember. So I'm going to brush up. I'm going to go check that thermostat video. So every single time I thought that I come across something that I think is a good tip or a good educational something, or how to, anything, how to navigate, how to find water, how to this, how to that, how to do anything with your vehicle, how to do something with your generator, how to do something with this, screen record that video. When you save it, go into the information of it, assign search tags to it of what is in that, send that to your network attached server. And then as it goes on there, now like maybe every week or every month, I then have another external hard drive that I back that up to and put that into a Faraday bag.
I was just gonna say, do you have a Faraday cage? I was gonna say anything magnetic or electronic, you're gonna lose it.
So in that Faraday bag, which is $17.95 on Amazon, you've got a little monitor or an iPad or a something with your external hard drive. Now this is when I realized that I was like, now that's a big project for one person. If I'm gonna sit here and just try to store everything that I am, come across, that's a big overwhelming project for me. But if I have a network attached server, and my family all has one of those, then we're all scrolling and consuming tons of content every single day. My sister is like a professional quilter, okay? I know she knows and looks up every how-to sewing video, whatever. So if her thing is that she just finds interesting tip videos and sewing videos, that she's like, I screen record, I dump it to my thing, it gets sent to everybody's. Like now I've got a brother-in-law who's good at mechanics and diesel, and I know the type of stuff he's probably searching. So like if we're all doing that together, there's many people now, like how much. Now my point here is this: once you've done that, let's say a year from now, 2 years from now, everything does go down. Okay. Well, now hopefully you had it backed up, but if you didn't, maybe somebody in your family had it backed up and you've got the latest version and copy, but you have that now. How valuable is that hard drive? You can copy it as many times as you want to. You can barter with that. If you were to come to a group that says, why do we need to bring on more mouths here? Well, because what do you want to know? Like, how valuable is that electronic information that you can slip into your pocket and travel with?
But then how
do you play it?
Okay.
You throw an iPad with a battery pack in that Faraday thing. Whatever.
How are you charging this stuff up?
Solar panel. You can have a little solar panel the size of this.
I know you can. I have one.
You know what I'm saying?
I have one for backpacking.
But once you start asking all those questions, which are good questions,
right,
you're like, okay, maybe I need a bigger Faraday box, or maybe I whatever. But maybe I need additional, at some point though, you can only do so much, but you can do a lot with the amount of storage.
So like I said, I'm gonna tear some holes into you. Just some theories.
You do.
Okay, and then you can definitely jump in on some of this too. Okay, so computers are great. We love them. We store them. Mm-hmm. What's the best computers that we all have in here in this room right now that we don't even need to have electronics to run it?
Your head.
Our head, right? So my only thought about that is you're gonna run into it, but where if you have a piece of device, it becomes something that can be targeted. You could be something where you could create conflicts. I mean, you can watch anything from Walking Dead to whatever. They had something they wanted to go bans. I mean, they're looting in North Carolina right now. They're looting food and stealing from people. Okay, so it's something that you have. Okay, but if you build a community where you have an asset, you have an asset, and you have an asset, you know what that creates that we've always had that we've all forgot, and that's where we've desensitized. Is that you had a specialty, and then you would train people behind you to have that specialty, so that would always be transfer, so you never lose that ability. And that's how our humankind started. Mm-hmm. Someone had a specialty, someone had a specialty, someone had a specialty. That, to me, you would have to, I think you could have that as a plan to have that stuff copied which would be great to have that anyone could have. But again, it becomes a target, just like if you have great food supply or you don't have enough ammo to protect it. But if you had a great community with everybody having a vast knowledge of all these things and your community was working together to do it, which is society in general, it'd be great. But like I said, I see a lot of temptation there. Like, I always watch these prepper shows, and there's like this gal, and she's like, "Oh, I've got 25 years of food supply," and I'm like, "Well, my first target is I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to take your food supply."
Right.
How are you going to defend?
How are you going to defend it?
And
How are
it's
you not going to
stationary.
have it?
And
I
it's
mean,
stationary.
I mean, again, knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
And that would be knowledge is
Right.
power.
Right.
Again,
That's why we're all educating ourselves.
Correct. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's
no, I mean, it's not foolproof. It's
I'm
not.
not saying, but nothing is foolproof.
No,
and
nothing.
but
It's a great idea, but I mean, there's
nothing is foolproof, and it's not a replacement for having good community, and it's not a replacement for having somebody who actually has experience in first aid. But I'm saying when there's when a day comes where we're in a Book of Eli situation and we're all like, we just took everything for granted. There was a time where we could just look anything up, and we can't do that now. Why not start to archive your own information and like in a way where, hey, it's not like you have to stop your life and just do this project, but now there is stuff in place where like a family or a community or a group or a tribe or whoever, you could be creating a database of like, hey, just simple gardening, like a database of everything that it takes to farm and to everything else. It's so the information is still there and accessible right now.
And we've lost a lot of that
And so
in society.
Yeah.
And we talked, a lot of people don't know how to can their own food, don't know how to garden.
And
all
while
those
you're
simple
building
things.
community, you might have a good guy who's a diesel mechanic, but you might not have everything really represented that you're working toward. But at least if you had a database where you could be like, hey, yeah, I got this charged up, we can look this up, and I know, I'm just saying it's a way of storing information where you maybe have a chance of like, hey, we have access to stuff that we're not so easy to carry around as like it's easier to carry this around than all of the books and all of the everything. If you lose somebody in your group who dies who wasn't able to train somebody up on something, I'm just saying
it's a tool.
it's a tool. It's a resource.
Right.
And I do know that if it would become something that is people would kill for that information.
And you brought up the Book of Eli. Like, the best part about that is, why was that book so valuable to him and do it? Because it was in Braille.
Yeah.
And he was the only one who had Braille.
Right.
So when they grabbed it and everything else, they had they had your hard drive,
Right.
but they didn't have any way to read it.
Right.
And so he was the power, so he kept it. So that's the only way it's secure.
Well, now there's how many levels of that we have access of encryption to something like so. I mean, I don't know all the answers, but I'm saying
it's a good idea.
But I'm saying you could control the flow of that information if you're the only person who can access it. You know what I mean? Like, it gets scary. Now we're getting into like movie plot type stuff here, but that's my point. How the point where you're like, people would kill for this is the very like somebody would kill for food storage. Well, that also shows the value of it. Just I know that there's people will do bad things to take advantage of people. But if you had to leave, though, and you had to leave everything behind, you could shove that in your pocket and have a chance of like, if I can get this thing plugged in, I can figure out how to do a lot of things. Like that's easier to hide, protect, and conceal versus your 5-gallon buckets you're toting around with freeze-dried food that you're trying to protect.
Well, just
not that you shouldn't do that. I'm just saying it is valuable, but I think it'll be easier to keep.
I think a good show and a reality show would be to have a society actually happen what is happening in North Carolina right now, where people are in a position where credit cards, phones, money mean nothing.
It's the worst situation you could think of.
Yep. If you could do a reality show where you took a group of 20 to 30 people, put them in an environment and create that scenario where they have nothing, how long does it take for it to deteriorate and go off the rails? Do they make it? But do it for just do it for 30 days.
Yeah.
Do it for a week.
Yeah.
You know how I can't even put myself in there. If I'm trapped on a roof right now and I still had food storage and everything else, I can probably maybe get to it if it didn't float away and do it. But I'm sitting there waiting for rescue. I'm waiting for anything, because right now my options is that I went from having that hard drive of I can sit there and read it all day, but if I don't have the tools or the resources to do it, what do we do now?
Right.
How do I just live? And you're right back to being first man.
Yeah.
How do I make a fire? How do I purify water? How do I?
And those are all. I'm a firm believer that
Yeah.
those are things that people should be practicing and learning and knowing. And like I say, I grew up going to Boy Scouts. I got a little. Me and my friends, we all kind of I don't know what you guys did here, but where I'm from, that was a big part of our culture, and you guys fathers taught that.
Boy Scouts, weren't you?
Yep.
Both of you?
Yeah, we were both
right.
Boy
So it's a cultural.
You
it's a
weren't,
culture
were you?
of teaching those things, and it's present in some areas and not in other areas. But so we should be doing those things and passing those things on.
But I mean, I just like I said,
But
that empathy is when you think about people right there in North Carolina. And I'm trying to put myself into that one person situation.
Yeah.
And how miserably fearful I would be right now, because you're sitting there going.
It's tough when you're by yourself.
Well, I mean, even if you have mom with her 2 kids sitting there, because her husband got swept away. I mean, you're talking about the mental thing of being okay and not okay. I mean, how long can you sustain to have that fortitude to say, listen, I just got to make it next hour, the next hour to the next hour, and hopefully some will come. If not, I got to keep planning. I got to keep going. Right. Keep going. How do you, again, that is...
Our life in general right now is so easy.
It is.
Everything is at our fingertips. Food, water, everything is at our fingertips. And then when something like what is happening in North Carolina, people have no idea how to fathom dealing with those kind of situations.
Yeah.
And then it breaks them down so fast. Fast.
But how often do we get that wake-up call? And then how quickly do we go back to being soft and vulnerable and taking things for granted? I remember a lot of these things. I mean, I don't know what's worse or not worse. I'm just saying, remember Katrina? These things were all happening during Katrina. There was people, going around attacking people. There was people shooting at the helicopters that were trying to evacuate people, and it got crazy. So every now and then we do get a wake up call of how do you prepare for this? Don't be in this situation. Don't be vulnerable. Whatever. I know you can't always protect from those things, but I think as a society, as a group, we do get these wake up calls where we're reminded every now and then of hey, going down to the grocery store is a luxury. You're not always going to have that. So be able to take care of yourself, take care of the ones around you. The other thing to help keep it in perspective, I was thinking about it a second ago, and I'm is this a new thing? And I'm it's not a new thing. When they're digging up Pompeii, where they're these guys were looters. They can identify while this place was burning and being covered with lava, these guys were running around looting. They weren't. This is a human nature thing, and it's and this is a reminder. Every now and then I'll be talking to my daughter. She gets super bummed out what's going on in the world, and I'm no, you got to realize as much as we've evolved or as much as we've progressed, I mean, we're all animals. I'm telling you, when it gets really desperate, people are animals, and there's a thin veneer of civility that we all operate on, because we know we can call 911, and right now there's a system in place that we think there's help, there's whatever, but when it all breaks down, it's going to be cavemen. That's what you just have to keep in mind. As much as we've progressed as a humanity, we're just very close to just being. There's still things going on in the world that you think that those things don't happen anymore. These are just terrible things that happened in history. And there's no, there's still there's still cannibalism. There's still slavery. There's still all kinds of terrible things that happen that we thought that we're so far removed of in our daily lives now that were just things that happened in history. And I've been way into the Spanish conquistadors and South America, right? And I've been, oh wow, that can get super depressing reading about that, right? But then you're like, holy cow, the things that they were doing to people in certain parts of the world, that's still happening. People still do these types of things to each other.
Well, like you guys going to Africa and stuff, there's a lot of societies over there that are very basic and they haven't evolved very far, but they survive. You know, those tribes. I mean,
almost having less is more of a strength.
yes.
You know, and speaking of that, just an example of that is like going into Zimbabwe. You know, was run by a major dictator that just bankrupted the country. I mean, my bottle of Coke cost me $1,280,000. You know, Zimbabweans. You know, everyone has
50 cents.
Yeah, and it was like less than 10 cents for me. You know.
Yeah.
But you look at some of the one, and they're not just in mud huts. You know, they're in dung huts.
Oh man.
But some of their ingenuity that they came up with just blows your mind as an American. They were using glass bottles to cool their huts.
Really?
So they were using empty Coke bottles, building them in the walls, and because the way the air flows into it, it actually cycles the air out and keeps their hut at least 20 degrees cooler than the outside temperature.
I've heard of this. There's a house outside of Las Vegas in an abandoned like ghost town. It's the Bottle House in Rhyolite, Nevada. Just like literally Death Valley is over that hill over there. Just like the border is just over there, super hot. But same thing. Some guy like built a bottle house, glass bottle house, and it was like 120 years old or whatever, but it's still standing, and it was like same thing, that same concept. Anyway.
And I think that's what we'd be knocked back down to, because like I said, really, they are closest to the caveman mentality. Like a lot of them aren't getting formal education.
Yeah.
I mean, most of them on honesty is third grade if they're lucky.
Yeah.
They can barely read if they can read.
Right.
You know, but to have them find a way to take this object that came to them through some means and find a way to reuse it. And who was the first person that said, oh, I'm going to start putting these bottles into my mud hut, and didn't maybe realize it was going to cool, but all of a sudden realized like,
yeah, there was somebody who
on
was,
this side where the bottles were, it's like cooler.
yeah, that's
and
like
then they
next
started,
level intelligence. I would have never. I've been to school. I graduated and whatever I was supposed to do. I would have never been able to think of that.
No, but like I said, that but like I said, you know, that would, I think, I mean, there's all kinds of books and there's lots of theories on it, but again, you know, it is going to be the strongest will survive, and that will be really what happens. Like, I mean, this thing with the port, if it really is going to shut off, it is going to affect us in ways that we will know. And then, like I said, timing seems a little convenient to me too. Right before an election and everything else, and it's going to cause more chaos. But chaos is what is ruling our world right now. It's not a sane, rational place. It's all built off chaos. It feeds off. Everyone loves it.
You know,
it feeds it.
And I feel like I got to clarify that when I'm telling my daughter that, like, hey, we're all just animals. I'm like, I'm not really trying to just bum her out, but I feel like we got to quit being so soft and viewing things as so soft, as being like, hey, like, be prepared, build community, learn these skills, be able to take care of yourself, but also appreciate that what you're witnessing around you is history, and it's an interesting time. I don't know, you know, like.
Some of us don't even know our neighbors, you know.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
But
yeah.
I mean, like you said, you know, you read those books, like they were saying, like, in a mass situation, you can take North Carolina situation, but if it's a city, I mean, we're all lucky. We did Boy Scouts. We went out and had dads or uncles or someone that brought us in and taught us a skill.
Yeah.
But again, I'm going to tell you, there are a lot of weak men out there.
There's a ton.
Yeah,
that wouldn't know how to set up a tent with instructions attached to it.
Yeah.
Again, those are going to be the first people that die out in the first 7 to 9 days.
Yeah.
And that in a city, I love living where I do. And the reason I do come here, I lived in big cities, I wanted out of that.
Yeah.
Because I saw that if anything ever happens, those are going to be the first places going to go. And people are like, oh yeah, but you live in an outlier from a big city. They're just going to follow your way. Yeah, but I'm going to see them coming.
Yeah.
You know, have a plan. Like, this is where I'm going to go. If that starts to, this is where I'm going to move. These are the people that I'm going to approach first and say, hey.
This is the thermal I'm going to be wearing.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Like, I know this old mine. It's got a very secure area. I think we're just going to travel there for a bit because it's got a high peak.
Yeah.
And we're going to line up some snipers. And we're just going to start taking people out. We're not going to say hello. we're just going to say kabang.
In a
you know?
theoretical situation.
Right.
In a theory, yeah.
Yeah.
And I get that a lot too. Like people are like, well, you do live in an outlier of the biggest city in Montana. I promise you, 90% or more of the people that live in that city, they're not even going to have the wherewithal to come this way.
No.
They won't. They won't. If they can't get
They're going to panic.
they're going to
before.
panic way before they would, put that together. And don't get me wrong, there are some amazing people that live there, and there are some people that would be able to survive anything in Billings. But the vast majority of them have the city mentality, and
I can go down the street and get what I need.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're not coming out here, and but yes, I've had this conversation multiple times.
Yeah,
Where am I going? Who am I grabbing?
Yeah.
I know who has the ammo.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
It's so funny. Like I was picking up some lumber in Reed Point the other day at the lumber mill, and there's a nice guy working there, and he's not a regular employee. He was just helping out or something, and he all of a sudden started just. It's so funny, like the conversations you'll have with people. But this guy started to talk about something, and I can't remember even how it came up. And he said, "You know what? I don't know if you're ready or not, but if you don't have enough food within the next 2 weeks, it's going to be too late." And I'm like, okay. Like I don't know who I'm talking to. The guy's a super nice guy, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not thinking he's wrong, but I don't, it's just like you don't know what conversations to have with people or where they're coming from. I'm not saying he wasn't wrong at all. And what's funny about it is like now that to have this, like the port thing closing down and all these things that are happening, it was such an interesting conversation that he said, he's like, I'm ready. He's like, my wife wants to be down in Texas, but I want to be up here for it. And he's like, I've been preparing and I'm prepared. And we had the same conversation about Billings. And he's like, he brought up Billings and he brought up like what's going to happen with the people in Billings. And that is all the same. It's funny the like there's this thing out there now, like where these are the conversations that I didn't start that conversation. I know we're having this conversation. I didn't start that conversation. Okay.
Right.
These are conversations that are that are happening out there right around all of us. And how similar are they all? Anyway.
But there's a lot of people out there. And we've had these conversations too. We are in such a great area for protecting ourselves. We have bridges that are strategic places that just happen to not be there anymore. We have a tactical advantage in this area right now. Mm-hmm. You can make this community as a general community, and trust me, I mean, 16 years in a vehicle, most of it working night shift, and I started out listening to George Norrie at night. I
loved him.
Before all the podcast stuff. But you could harden this community to the point to where you have 1 or 2 points of entrance, and you have tactical advantage over 99.9% of this area, and we could thrive. We could pretty much thrive here.
Wow, that's incredible. Because have you ever seen the series Jericho?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you too?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen Jericho?
I haven't.
That's like, it's a Jericho situation. We should look up Jericho. This is exactly what we're talking about here. Where eventually something happens. People don't know why the power's off. People can't communicate. But soon it becomes, neighbor versus neighbor. But then it becomes community versus community for resources. And I think it was really good in how it portrayed that, because it does make you think like that.
Yeah.
I have a book written. I can't remember his name. His last name is Skousen, and I should bring it in sometime and show it to you. But he does a breakdown of county by county throughout the entire North America, and it's the North American Guide to Safe Places, and he breaks down every region in every state and talks about its strengths and weaknesses, whether it is civil unrest, natural disaster, or whatever, or EMP or whatever. And he rates this area, if you're curious, very good. Because he
Don't
talks
say
about,
that on a podcast.
I know, right? Well, you just did.
Yeah.
No, I said you're not coming in here.
Right.
Okay, so it doesn't matter that I say it.
Right.
But no, he talks about the Beartooth Mountains right here. He talks about us if Great Falls were to be hit with nuclear whatever because of what the silos and the things that are up there, that how the airflow, how this part where we are right here would actually, Stillwater County would be very well protected because of the wind flow.
The wind flows. Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be carried to the east of us.
Yep.
And how blah, 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 blah. He talks about the mining, kind of the pluses and minuses of being in a mining community. Anyway, it's super interesting book. If you guys any of you are interested,
Well, it brings back
I would bring that to town.
In high school, we had to read Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah.
It really does lend a lot of. You read that book again, and you can see like there's a lot of things that you would have to adapt.
I haven't read
from
that one.
book.
I've heard of it, but I haven't read that one.
You've never read it?
No, it's a short book. It's good, but it does talk. A nuke hits, and the guy that's working for the government tells his family, he's like, if I send you the code word Fahrenheit 451, just get down into the basement, stay there. We're in a safe area. Same thing. Winds are going to disappear, and everything else. Here's some survival stuff, and all I can tell you is I will come to you, but you got to survive.
Yeah.
And eventually, they do they come together, the community. They grow corn and they turn the corn into whiskey, and the whiskey's used for the doctor to go and do medical stuff. I mean, they all come together in that one area because it's not hit, but everything around it. And they've got, he gave them, radiation detectors, and they could only go so far out because they were in a zone where it wasn't being affected. Like the metal was radiating everything out. So it's Chernobyl. Everything around is Chernobyl. Yeah. But the book is really good. It's really a quick read. It's a quick listen on on an audio thing.
Yeah.
But it does. If you really, you'll love it because it's right up your alley. Like I said, it's got everything in there. It's got a storyline. It's got gangs. It's got everything that we're all talking about. But again, I just really look at what it's just transposed, and the government's not that smart. They tell you what they're going to do. Like, shutting off the phones and everything else. Have you ever watched your kid freak out when they don't have their phone service for a while or internet?
Or you ground them from their phone for a day?
It's like the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Well, do that to the entire population on the East Coast. No communication.
Wow.
Yeah.
No everything. And just think, how many days is it going to take where none of that's on for society just to start collapsing?
Well, it was almost collapsing when I went to Africa.
Truckers shut down.
Yeah. But even more recent than that was when I went to Africa when I landed. Actually, I was in Newark, New Jersey, flying. I spent 2 extra hours on the tarmac because they had that big, quote unquote, Microsoft update that shut down all the computers. Yeah. I ended up getting to Johannesburg, no problem. But there was a photographer that never even made it. He had to cancel his trip because he couldn't even get out of Salt Lake City. And you should have seen the people that were freaking out and stuff that was going on, that were trying to get places in these airports. I mean, it was freaking society was dropping quick in these airports.
Over something simple.
Something simple. Now, conspiracy theory, it was completely orchestrated, along with the cell phone stuff that happened the other day.
Bank stuff today.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's all orchestrated. It's all happening, and somebody's pulling the damn strings on it to see
how we deal with it.
See how we deal with it. Where our tipping point is, they're finding they're finding our weak points,
and
completely.
Their biggest experiment was 2020.
Yeah,
COVID. I mean, it was designed to see what society would happen and see where they could bend the rules more and take more control. It's all known. People, anybody that just can't open their eyes and can't put it past that they can't like one or two men, got to look at really what's going on and see everything that they're doing and go, okay, this makes totally sense that they're trying to do this on purpose. Yeah, it's all orchestrated. This is not, again, we were saying conspiracy theory. I don't even like saying that word anymore. I'm just going to say it's a theory that's going to happen at some point. At some point, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like,
it's tomorrow's facts.
Okay, so I'll say it on a podcast. I'm going to say it right now. I guarantee you the day of or on the day of the election, there will be an event of some kind. Either it's going to be phones, something electronical, or something.
I think there will be.
It's going to affect. Why?
Even because Hillary Clinton, right? Did you see that she called something the other day?
And she said that they were going to do it.
Yeah.
So they're not that smart to come out and say it.
Yeah.
But people just go,
she even said it's coming.
And why? Okay.
Yeah.
No more drop boxes. Okay, no more the mail-in voting.
Yeah.
On that thing. Again, it's stupid. Like even here, I mean, I'll say it. Tester. Again, look at Rosendale was in the lead. Go up to midnight, count stops, and then wake up in the morning. You got Silver Bowl County, Gallatin County, and Tester's won by 2,000 votes in each one of those things. Really?
Yeah.
How many? It takes you a few hours to count and say, hey, John, we're like 5,000 votes behind here.
Yeah, you think
Oh.
shenanigans happen just in other places, but shenanigans are happening all
Everywhere.
over the place. Not that I know anything. I don't know anything about anybody's counties or who did what. But I've heard things as well, and it shows that a lot of times you just feel like, at least I do, I guess, I feel like, oh, that's stuff that just happens over there or whatever. But no, it's going on all around us. These things are happening in all kinds of small communities.
And I mean, like I said, I listen to, of course, I'm right wing. It's not a hidden fact, but at least listen to the media. And like they said, they're telling you now, go out and vote. If you do early voting, vote early before the day of the election, because if you can get your vote in and make it count and flood it beforehand, it's going to make them a lot harder on the day of to sit there and go, we needed 10,000 more votes in that county to take this district and take it over. Okay, well then that's what we got to do. And the thing is, it's stupid. It really is. Hand mail, that's the thing to do. I mean, Italy does it, and they count 11 million votes in a period of 8 hours.
They should be doing that here. It should all be
Paper.
one day. You shouldn't be able to look at an area counting votes and being like, well, we're going to have to swing this thing, or we're going to have to come up with this many, because of that's the scary thing about this long period of voting, is like lots of things can happen in there, and it should just be, hey, this is it. It starts at this time, it ends at this time, and it gets counted. And there's, and you got to show up in person, and you got to show an ID to prove who you are. And that's how it should be. But they've drug this whole thing out, and it's so convoluted now that so many things could happen. It's way easier, I feel, for fraud or manipulation. There's always a little. It's just a historical thing because there's people involved, and it's always been around. But
and
like so, people try to act like there's no fraud. No. There's people involved.
Just like your little hard drive. When all this stuff's going electronic, that's your hard drive with all the data and all the information, the power sitting right there.
Yeah.
But you stop making it electronic, get back having it counted and done day of. Makes sense. And I could give you a perfect example why I think it's rigged this way. So Heather's dad moved to Florida. He lives in a district that they want to turn blue. It's been red forever. Mm-hmm. He lives in like north of Hollywood, Florida. I can't remember the little town or the city. But he's on the beach. So he went and registered to vote online and everything else. Well, they gave him an absentee ballot because he's got bad legs and he's got a health problem. So he says, I'm not going to do it. So I want an absentee ballot. They only sent him a Democratic ballot to vote from. That's his only options. And he's like, calls him up and he keeps being put off. He's like, no, it should be, you should have both and be able to choose, not just be like directed. But they're telling you, like I said, they're not smart.
Yeah.
They tell us what we do. It's just that we don't have enough like I said, at what point do we stop and break down and say enough and say stop? We've had it. This is over. We're not doing this anymore.
It's when you can't get it from Amazon by Tuesday.
Yeah. And I mean, with the ports being shut down and, like I said, I'm getting my studio built here, everything else. And
it's when when you can't be on your phone, that's when everybody's going to get uncomfortable enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I told, I
got to communicate with someone.
Yeah. And I told my construction guy, I'm like, go tomorrow and buy all the lumber for what's remaining today because lumber prices are going to jump. Everything's going to jump. I said, get that stuff in now at this cost because in less than 2 weeks, it could be double the price.
Yeah.
And I don't want to think that way, but I know that's what's going to happen. I mean, COVID's proven it. Like, again, they've already done the test.
Yeah.
They've got so much data off that they know where they can bend and control and manipulate and do.
Yeah.
And we all just sat there and went, oh, I guess we have to sit 6 feet apart.
What about, did you guys, I know you guys did, some of you guys did. I know Shelby and I talked about it, but Sean Ryan on
Joe Rogan? I already listened to it.
Okay.
I haven't listened to all of it. I started it.
Wow. What about the part about the Taliban printing passports? What's your thoughts?
Oh, it's been happening.
And did you hear that part yet?
I think so. I think I got into it a little bit.
Where he talked about how, I can't remember his first name, last name Bin Laden, is that he teamed up with the Taliban. They are just printing passports. We're funneling money to the Taliban.
Yep.
They're taking that money and printing
Making passports.
sending people to South America. Then they're just coming across the border, and that when the border gets shut, then it'll be our October 7th of mayhem and, yada, yada. So there's that.
Our October 7th might be November 4th.
Yeah.
And,
You know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
the 5th, like that November 5th day, the voting day,
Yeah.
it really is. It is either going to be, we are going to try to at least maintain what little sanity of this country that we have that's so great.
Yeah.
Or we're just really going to give them the hammer and the sickle and just take the society that they're giving us and sit there and go, oh, okay, I guess we have to. I don't want to. Like I said, again, but I can't be the only one sitting there going, all right, well, let's do that Second Amendment thing because that's why I gave it, because now it's tyranny.
Yeah.
And at what point, but what do you do? What do I do? I mean,
I don't
what would
know.
you really do if everyone picked up arms and said, okay, do you go to your local government first and start taking them over and say, all right, you're done. You guys don't get any more.
What are you replacing it with though?
Yeah, I mean that's
the
just
problem.
it. Like what is it that you do? I mean, I've heard people say like, oh, what really needs to happen is
feel
a tactical nuke when Congress is in session and take out
I feel
the
like
problem.
like
Well,
in,
what do you do then?
I don't really have too many fears like in our community, and therefore I put some faith in other small communities. I think the large cities evacuate, but in our community, I would feel like, what do you replace it with? I don't know that you have to replace it. I feel like there's leaders in our community because there has been there's always like in a small account. This is just my dumb ramblings, right? But I just feel like there's more accountability on a personal level in our communities that are small. We see each other. We know each other. I feel like when things get bad, they're going to look out for you. We're going to look. There's a lot of good people. There's a lot of dirtbags too. But I feel like there's way more good people.
But unfortunately, it's not the small communities that have a say in what happens in this country.
Yeah, it's all the big towns.
I mean, look who essentially picks our president.
I guess what I'm
Six
saying
counties in the
is-
United States pick our president,
Right.
more or less. So yeah, what are
I guess I'm saying in like a complete breakdown of
like a burn it all down situation?
Yeah, like when it falls apart, when it's like where is the power structure, where is like da 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 da. I guess that's more the point I'm talking about is like I
Right.
feel like in that situation, I feel like we like people like you and people who know things more about this area, like they will step up and be leaders and secure people, and we will band together. I do feel there's dirt bags and there's bad actors, but I feel like generally there's more people who want to keep it together and be good people. I don't know. Maybe that's naive, but what are your thoughts?
Me? I really don't know. Like I said, I don't think. So yeah, you'd go in, you start at your local government, and essentially kick it all out. What are you replacing it with? Yeah, I might know a few things, but you tell me to go figure out how to keep the water treatment center system running, I got no freaking clue.
I got a hard drive
Maybe you might.
with a bunch of TikToks on it.
Yeah, you might. But you don't. I mean,
Right.
now unless this has been orchestrated we go back to the 1773 scenario. It took 150 years, 200 years of colonists to decide to have 1776.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
They planned it for 100 years. We can't, and we haven't been planning it for 100 years, I promise you.
Well, the problem is the powers that be that now, they've been planning it for almost 100 years.
They have been.
Because that's their goal. I mean, you can just look, going back to presidents, you can kind of start seeing when the progressives started. And then everything started to changing, and then it started changing more and more and bigger bites and bigger bites and bigger bites
Right.
and where we are now. And like I said, he's right. Like, yeah, we can throw everybody out. We can take over the state capitol, kick everybody out and be like done and do new votes and hire anything. But what makes that change? What is going to be the focus for that? Again, and that loss of just, like I said, I keep getting all these proverbs and stuff. But like for me, it's like the law should be the law. But again, the law is for us. But if you're above us and you're pulling the purse strings and controlling it, there's no law. I mean, if you want to trespass, heck, that's a baby crime. If you want to kill someone, well, we'll just turn her head.
Yeah.
And there's your Diddy situation.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
I just feel like it could possibly, if it breaks down, I think it's going to be completely ugly and completely disastrous. But as with most things, and if you look at history in a broader picture, if you look at the bigger larger time frames, there's a collapse, and then there's a correction, and then there's new leaders, and then there's new structures. And in our period, it's going to be very uncomfortable. But over the long haul, it works itself out. At 200 years from now, they'll be reading about it. 500 years from now, they'll be like, they won't even be talking about it. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, it'll...
Yeah.
They'll be like, I have this hard drive with this podcast. And
But I got this hard drive.
they talked about this.
Yeah.
2024.
A bootleg copy of a hard drive
Right.
that I traded for some...
But now it's an organic object. It's not a hard drive. It's like a cellular organism that's repeating the video screen. And I don't know.
But again, you go back. I go back to the analogy of the Roman Empire. Look at the vastness of the Roman Empire back then. They destroyed the Roman Empire. They didn't have a plan. What is the Roman Empire now? An itty-bitty little country with another country right smack dab in the middle of it.
Yeah.
That's the Roman Empire.
And
they owned most of the known Eastern world
Okay,
at that time.
But there are those who claim that the Roman Empire just evolved into the Catholic Church.
No.
And so I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to throw something
I don't
out there.
think the Catholic Church is running things anymore at all.
Yeah, there's still a large
Pope.
structure in place.
No.
Yeah, this Pope is something else, huh? But anyway, I don't know enough on that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I've seen that's a pretty prominent
so let's
theory
go-
out there. Is that's where
the Roman Empire changed into was the Catholic Church. Yeah, I've heard that rumor. I mean, I've heard that theory too. But then let's go to something more recent. So let's go to the Battle of the 5 Points War in New York. Okay, they were fed up with the quote-unquote oligarchy, for more of a better word, in New York and the boroughs. They didn't have a plan. They put the same people essentially right back in there shortly thereafter. It didn't change anything. So if you don't have a plan, you're just replacing those people with the same people. Because once you get a little bit of power, you're not giving it back.
I think it's just a human nature thing.
It is.
It just the cycle just keeps happening and happening and happening.
And you can't be a damn mountain man. I just figured if all this shit was going to happen, I'm just going to grab my tent, a couple of horses, and go to the mountains.
Flintlock.
And go into the mountains. But you can't do that. Even the mountain men came out and rendezvoused.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Which sucks because I could find a canyon up there and never come back.
Yeah.
They talk about wealth redistribution too. And this is why I say I can't remember. I'm terrible at my sources. Everything's BS that I say. But I did see that somebody way smarter than me said, if you were to take all of the world's money and divide it evenly between every single person, okay, within, I can't remember, it was a very short period of time, like 20 years.
Yeah.
Like the wealth would go back to where it was.
Really?
And like those who were wealthy
Will be wealthy
again. Those who were poor will be poor again within like 20 years. They said everything will go back that way, because it's a human nature thing. Those who are good with it, those who know how to manipulate it, or those who know how to be corrupt with it, that's how they operate. That's who they are. And those who are bad with it will continue to be bad with it. You know what I mean? Like if you've got bad habits with money, they could give you a ton of money.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to handle that, you're gonna lose it. Because somebody else who knows how to get it from you and knows how to make money,
He's going to get it.
is gonna get it. It'll all go back. Isn't that kind of interesting to think about?
Yeah.
And
I'm willing to take
so
a chance.
plausible.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's real plausible.
I'm not about wealth redistribution.
You can see that happening. I mean, now. I mean, it's happening every day.
When you see people that like come into the lottery, like the statistics are mind-boggling. How many of them are broke?
90% are broke in
like 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's only ever one on the East Coast, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I know. It never went
So
here.
we don't have to
Even
deal
our
with that
freaking
problem.
Montana.
I should have bought
One
lottery
can.
tickets when I was in South Carolina. I have a better chance
There you go.
there than.
Well, even like our Montana Millionaire.
Right.
What's the Montana Millionaire?
You've never
You
done that?
Oh, it's the easiest, the most logical way
chance
to become a millionaire.
In Montana.
You can only give up a couple thousand tickets.
Well, no, they're doing 500,000 this year.
Oh.
It went from 380,000 last year to 500,000 this year.
I thought you were talking about like how you just go down with a back injury at the mine.
Well, that too. There's 4 $1 million prizes, and then they're doing a bunch of other ones, but they're open up to anybody. You don't have to be Montana to buy them.
Oh,
You could be coming through.
And they're
living-
$20 a piece.
$20
You just go
a
to the
piece.
machine and print them out. Like the day that it opens up, I go and get them because by the next day,
They're sold
they're
out.
gone.
No, they were gone in. So I didn't know about it last year. I forgot about it. I went to work at 7 in the morning, went to Town Pump and got a coffee because the coffee shop was closed. I should talk to Heather about that from last year still. And this never would have happened because she ruined my
You should
morning
talk to her
routine.
about
I
that,
should.
yeah, obviously.
But I go in the Town Pump and there was like a line of like 50 people at
What?
6:45 in the morning. And I'm trying to figure out what it is. I was, naive to the fact that there was Montana Millionaire tickets had come available. Waited in line forever for my freaking coffee, which was like $1. Got my coffee. Shasta messaged me at like 8 o'clock. She's like, "Did you know it was Montana Millionaire?" And I'm like, "Cool." Well, we both got busy. I was at work. She was getting the kids ready for school. I go back to Town Pump at 9:30. They were gone.
So it's a limited number.
Limited number. Then they're gone in a few hours. I think 4 hours. The whole state was out of them.
Yeah, my wife texted me at 7 o'clock and she said,
How quick is
"Crap, Millionaire's open." She's like, get to the gas station and buy as many as you can. She's like, spend $500 if you have to.
So how quick is the turnaround on that? Like, how quick do they draw?
They start
away?
drawing in November. End of November, beginning of December, right?
Well, the main drawing's in December. It's right after Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
'cause
right
it's
after
coming
Christmas.
up.
It's right after Christmas. It's coming up. But they do like the smaller. They have like a couple $100,000 drawings early, and then they do like a 250, a $500,000 before Christmas, and then they do the big drawing,
Yeah.
the 3 millionaire picks the day after. But statistically, because now it's less.
Now it's 1 in 500,000.
When it
chance.
first came out, they only gave out 200,000 tickets.
Mm-hmm.
So it was your best odds of becoming a millionaire, consensus-wise, anywhere. But again, when they started opening up where anybody non-Montanan can buy it too.
Why did they do that?
Because it's more money. I mean, this is where most of this goes into the general
Remember,
Montana General
people are
Fund.
going to find a way to always get the money.
No,
And that's
right.
But you would think that enough Montanans would still buy that.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know.
I mean, I do. Like I said, I do it just because, if it's the best odds I have. I mean,
Somebody text me this year. All right.
yeah,
Like,
Well,
Yeah,
the
we're
date
all-
is. Well, he'll find it. Go on. Shelby can look it up. He can find the date that they go on release because literally there will be a line in this little town,
right.
and then when the printer runs out, they're done.
Yeah, like I said, Town Pump had like 50 people in it.
It was like 4
500.
hours, 3 or
Yeah.
4 hours. They were
Wow.
done.
Talk
Yeah.
about Faraday cage, like this building. So, did you get a signal through?
No, I was just I was just doing some math.
Oh, okay. Because
So they're raising $10 million to give away 5, maybe.
Just about half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're raising another $5 million for the general fund.
wow.
But remember too that when you win that too, the
Taxes.
the taxes that
Go to the state.
likes it. So the state's like,
what a
Takes
scam.
half.
the state's like, yeah, just keep doing that because we really like that taxes. Because I mean, by the time you take your million,
They're
and
still
then-
only giving 250.
and then the feds take their tax and everything else. I think they told you at the end you're like at, well, you're still like
46%.
Yeah, so you're like at
Wow.
560.
So then I could buy a new house here in town.
Well, you
Be
will.
done.
You
And
get
still
paid my
have to-
property
Just
taxes.
wait long enough. Miles will be down there, and then you can just take his home.
No, right?
This keeps going on,
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, but
Yeah.
like I said, it's just like I said, it's a great place, but that's
So a total change of direction here. You said something that just stuck with me. Studio.
yeah.
What's this?
Yeah. So, so you actually the only way you get dreams in your life is you have to have a really good woman behind you, because I'll be honest, in 10 years that I've done photography, struggling to do professional portraits and stuff. I mean, I love wildlife and stuff. I just don't have time to be out there because I'm trying to support my wife and my family now. You get doubts. Like I have doubts all the time. Like I sit there and I'm like, Jesus, am I doing this right? Am I charging too much? Am I charging too less? Am I worth this? Am I worth that?
That's the same
And-
conversation. Yeah. We've
and-
all been having that conversation.
and-
It's something we all struggle with.
When we got married with Heather, she asked me, she's like, what would your dream be? And my dream was like, well, I'd really like to have a studio someday. It was a someday scenario. I was working at the Silversmiths. I had a job. I did it part-time. I loved it. It just fed my creativity. I just love photography that much. And I was sitting there and got let go because of COVID. I'm done and I don't have this. And my wife was like, at the time we were secure because she was in home refinancing. And she's like, well, if you're going to take a chance of running your own business, here you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a big jump. So I got to start going full time, which trying to learn the business side. Again, I'm a creative. I don't know business 101. I still have to get a financial person this year just to help me because, like I said, I just want to be creative. I want to create the content. I want to do the fun stuff. I don't want to do all the marketing. I know how to. I don't want to do all the video. I don't want to sit there and face everybody after the shoot. I just want to give them cool pictures, make them happy, and just make everyone just go like, oh, that's what we want to do. We got to go back to him, So, long story short, my wife was sitting here in the town, and I always actually wanted, what was the little place across from Emmett there that the railroad owned, the little shop, the little brick
Goddard's
building.
Garage.
Goddard's Garage. I thought, dude, that'd be sweet. Like, go in there and just totally renovate that thing, keep the doors. I could do like car photo shoots. It's square, had the square footage, had the height.
Yeah.
Simple little building. I'm like, man, if I had money. Well, as an artist my whole life, never ever getting paid your worth. Honestly, I mean, Montana still sucks. We're still 5 years. You do video work, you do photography work. I mean, you do a 1 minute video, they're like, oh, hey, can I do a 1 minute video, 30 pictures, enough for content for a week? Can you do that for $300, $400, $500?
150.
No. I'll tell you, I'll give you those photos for $500, but every video is going to cost you $1,000 a piece.
Yeah, because that 1 minute is going to take me 10 hours of editing.
And I have a $20,000 worth of video equipment. I've got, so we all have the story. Well, we were sitting there, and it actually was something my wife was trying to do. She really wanted to do a bakery. And so she was looking for a spot. She's been in banking and stuff, and she's like, it's not my heart. I want to find something I love. And I'm like, well, I still kind of doing what I did. You gave me this opportunity, so go for it, And so she started looking, and prices are around and nothing was going on. Well, the fly shop building right next to O'Reilly's opened up, and it was way too high when at first. I mean, they wanted like $365 for it.
Oh.
It's an old building.
It's cool.
It's historic.
Cool place.
Yeah.
And so she was sitting there looking and watching, and we kind of sat there, and the ideas kind of just simmer. They kind of go up and you get real height and excited, and then they kind of die and go up.
Oh yeah.
And so it came and it dropped down, and she's like, well, that's getting closer to what I think it could be. Let's go take a look. And so we looked and everything else, and it's just not quite laid out where, I mean, feasibly we could have bought the building, but to do a startup industrial kitchen, like you would know, I mean, what we'd put in the building, we'd have to find another amount of money to put that much money just to get the approval to do an industrial bakery. Well, the good thing about this building is it's got 2 rentals.
Yeah.
So, and that was my big worry. I was honestly, I didn't see it. I didn't have the confidence in it, and my wife did. Yeah. Thank God that she's way better than me, and I will admit it. Financially, way better than me. She's way smarter than me in lots of areas, and this is one that she really is. And so she went in there, and she's like, no, it's going to be okay. She's like, listen, all we got to do is keep the rental upstairs and downstairs. It'll pay for, the mortgage. It'll pay the insurance and everything else. And she's like, just trust me.
And you get a sweet Main Street
location. And it's historic. And so she's sitting there, and I didn't know what we were going to do with the lower because it was still the fly shop guy was kind of sitting on it, and he wasn't making money on it. So he was kind of hemming and hawing. And I wasn't really even thinking about it. Well, when he said no, she came up to me and she's like, no. She's like, this is your studio. I cried like for an hour because, you got to have someone that believes in you more than you.
Yeah.
Right.
And she does.
That's awesome.
And I didn't see it. Like, I couldn't see it. I couldn't put myself in there. I was worried too much about the payments and the financials because I'm trying to build a business. I'm like I'm going to be in my 4th year. I'm sitting there going, I'm just trying to make enough so I can help pay the heating bills and the insurance for the cars and stuff. I'm like, I can't see going forward.
Yeah.
And she goes, no. She's like, we got this. It'll be fine. So we got back in March. She bought the building, and we've got a renter upstairs. We went and had it cleaned and everything else. It's historic. The bottom, the guy that was working there was kind of camping there. Just kind of, it was gross. I mean, so I learned how to do some flooring.
Nice.
And flooring and stuff. I actually got help from Zach from Yellowstone Bank. Came over, a young guy. It was nice to come over and help me out. I was struggling to get this stuff to just line up and snap.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't do it your first time, there's a few tricks you need to learn.
Right.
And he came in. He's like, oh, I've done a couple of these. He's like, dude, I love it. I'm like, I'll buy you a case of beer, and that's how it kind of. So now we're friends, but he came over. So we did the back part. It's a little studio apartment in the back. We got it totally renovated. It's a little 600 square foot. It's got a big bathroom. And, I mean, it's the only downside is it's only got one access through the alley.
Yeah.
But like in this town, you know, rentals are hard to come by, you know, to do it. So
no, that's still kind of cool though.
Yeah.
That's cool in that little, in the little old historic buildings and stuff. Yeah.
And so we flipped it, and then she came and she's like, now what? She's like, what do you want to do to this thing? And I'm sitting there looking at this, you know, it's about 1,000 square feet, just about on the main, or the main floor there. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do. Like I said, well, first I got to pull this crap off the wall. So I had to take all the mounting boards and just stripped everything. And I'm like, well, I don't like this carpet, so I want to put flooring in. So I went and got flooring and put flooring, and I just started painting simple stuff. And, just starting to dream about it a little bit. And then my wife's like, you know, anything we do in this, she's like, it's yours. She's like, you know, we're going to use it financially for us. You know, we'll make sure that you're paying in so we can use it for some tax purposes and stuff. But she's like, it's yours. It's your place. Do whatever you want. And I sat there and I'm like, well, again, I started, same thing I fall into all the time. It's just me. I'm scared like money. Like, how am I going to put into all this? How's this all going to happen? But I am also kind of a person that, like, if you really put it out in the universe that you need stuff to happen for you, to find ways to facilitate getting this stuff. Well, I've gotten enough work. Like I said, I got to do stuff with Tim, drone work. Like, I was down. Like, last year was my best year. Lots of seniors, lots of good work. Graduation hit. I went cold for 2 months. Like, everything just stopped.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there going, oh, I got $1,500 left in my bank account.
Yeah.
How am I going to make it to August when sports start up so I can start making some income again? Well, lucky enough, I started getting drone work and started doing real estate. And I'm like, God, I'm so glad I got that license. I got to renew it this year, but I was like, perfect. So it fed me through the summer, doing real estate and video. And I was sitting there, and so I started working on the building. And so all my material finally is coming in. Like I said, I have Derek McGowan going in. So we stripped the front of the building. The windows didn't match. There was bugs. There was leakages. I mean, it's an old building.
Yeah.
And so
that thing's got to be like what? How old is that building?
So when she bought it, this is where I love this little community. So when she bought it, and in the contract it says it's a 127-year-old building.
Wow.
But it's older than that. And the only reason I did it is I took Penny down there. Everyone knows at the museum. If you haven't met her, she's absolutely awesome. I just met her, and I went there because I was doing it. Heather's like, you know, it'd be kind of cool if you have a little section on, maybe just do like a little coffee table book of the history of what this building's been through the years, and maybe have a little space when you walk in to see old pictures of the building, like what it first looked like, and just bring some of that back in. I'm like, well, it is a really cool building. And before we had tenants in there, I went over to the museum, and I was just on a Monday afternoon, and I was just like, oh, I'll just stop in and see if they have pictures. And I didn't know Penny, and I didn't know they had this big archive.
Yeah.
And in 15 minutes, she's pulling out like
everything
from 1902. She has the original draft, and she goes, well, on this one, it's saying it started out as originally in wood. So the whole frame was wood. It was more like a tack shop. She's like, we don't know what it is. It doesn't tell you the business name. She goes, but if you see the line 1906 on the building, this is so cool. Like I said, can't wait to do this coffee table. It's going to take me months to do it. But anyways, so you're looking at it, and so in 1906, they did right next to it where the highway patrol is, and where the what used to be Line Drug, or Ken's Line Drug, where the Republican ladies have it, and where Project Hope. That's when they started taking all the quarry rock from Columbus here, and they built it all up. So then they expanded onto that one too. So that one was done in the brick was done in 1907. So it wasn't the first one. The first one's the main one with the archway. And so they put that rock work in, and they built it, and it went all the way in the back in the alley. We still have that whole alley back. We've got space back there. So I started looking at it, and I was like trying to think as a kid, because growing up as a kid, Columbus was great. And now that I'm I got voted in last month the president of the chamber, you know, trying to bring community. I was like, we used to have things in this town. Like I remember as a kid going down, like
there was like karate classes there on Main Street,
and there was, you know, we had Busy Bee Cafe, we had the Western Bertha's, and everything else. And I'm like, this is really, really cool. And
we had an awards. There was somewhere right there that used to do awards and stuff. I'm like,
Yeah,
Where'd that go?
And then I started looking at all these pictures, trying to remember what it looked like. Like, what was it like? Because I don't want to change the building enough. I want to keep it as much intact as we can.
Yeah, right.
Keep the history.
Keep the original.
And as we're going through this, she's pulling out pictures, and we're seeing all these cool photos. And she pulls out one. I didn't know until 1950, from 1936 to somewhere in the 50s, that where Mod West used to be next to the Atlas there with the Judge's sign, that used to be a movie theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew
I
that.
never knew that was a movie theater.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That was a jewelry,
Bursting Jeweler, and then it was the carpeting company for Wheeler Carpeting.
Yeah.
But so I'm looking at this stuff, and it's just like, you see a picture of the main, and you see all these signs, and it just floods a memory of being a kid. I mean, I bought my comic books at Line Drug.
Yep.
Yeah. Baseball card. We used to go in together and buy football cards.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing all this stuff.
Was
and
Lion Drug like a big, huge chain? Because like the town I grew up in, there was a Lion Drug in our town.
So it was called Ken's Line Drug. So it was Ken.
Could that be? I mean, was it just a chain of them, and like you could franchise it?
It might have been.
And like throw your name on the front of it.
It was big for Columbus. I mean,
It was big for our town, and it was in Overton, Nevada. Actually, it was that we had Lion Drug, and during like lunch we would walk, down there, and sometimes you'd go buy some candy in Lion Drug or something.
So sitting with Penny, and she's pulling all this thing, and she's looking at this one piece of paper, and you see these 4 markers on the top of it, and she goes, do these skylights still exist in this building? And I'm like, yeah, they're 4 big ones on the upper floor. She's like, really? Can I see them? I mean, she got really excited, and I'm like, well, yeah, you're lucky. We just got it empty, so they just cleaned it. So yeah, we'll go up there. So she's in there, and she got in there, you guys, and she was so excited because it still got the original wood. She looks up, and those skylights were put in 1907.
wow.
And they're the only ones left of 4 buildings. The Atlas used to have them, and those other 3 buildings down there, but they closed them all up later on. And so she was just like freaking out. And
Bill Hamilton was still alive.
Yes, he was.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, here's where it gets really.
That's our marker,
I know.
right?
I know, our marker.
It's like
So we're sitting there looking, and I told her, I said, let's go in the basement. I'm going to show you some stuff, because I said, I know at one point this had to have been a dry goods store, because we have a big vault door on the back in the alley, and it's got a ramp that goes down, and there's stairwells. And I mean, it's like a heavy piston door. It's
cool.
I want to do some cool photo shoots, or you could do videos that has smoke. You can make it look like a sci-fi basement or something. It's really cool. It's that kind of a door. And I told her,
take the fog machine over there.
and I'm sitting there, and I told her, I said, hey, my wife and I, there's a beam down in the basement, and it's got a signature, and it's signed 1897.
Wow.
And I sat there, and I went, I think this building's older than what you have on the record. And she's like, well, it very well could be. She's like, can I see that? So we go down, and I take my phone and put the light, and she's snapping it for archival stuff. So it says Strawman. It's the best way it looks like. It says Strawman 1897. She's like, well, maybe this was the first guy that built the first tack shop. I'm like, well, maybe. Well, then we go to the back, and there's still like an old outhouse in there.
Yep.
Like it's in there in the bottom. It's kind of done. It's not working anymore. There's old soapstone sink in there from Chicago from like, I don't know, it's like the early 1900s they brought it in. And then she goes and she catches her eye, because it still has a big roller door on the back of the basement where those stairs go up, and they're cast iron rollers. And she's freaking out, and she's like, I gotta take a picture of this. Can I said, take as many you want. And I go, why is this cool? And she goes, Cody, look at the year on these rollers. The cast iron rollers from 1906, and they're still on the runner that runs back that wall. Everything else. And I'm like, I just got into history and started just digging and digging.
Yeah.
And she came into me and she goes, so the first business I can find, she's like, and I'll send you this picture so you can add it to the pod if you want, but it's a picture of Steinman Brothers. So forever, where there's a stairway that leads to the upstairs, there's a sign that said Steinman's Men's Warehouse. So it was a men's warehouse from I think the picture's 1906 to like the 1940s. Wow. It was a men's warehouse. And I got a picture of the 2 brothers, Eli, and I think it's Eli and John Steinman. And you look in there, you guys, and you can see when I do my grand opening, you can see the old the way the stairwell goes in there. You can see it in the picture, and you can see the glass cases, and they've got the wool suits all like propping up the hats. They have a section of rubber boots. they have all the because that's what they wore, was all fancy wool suits.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, and the shoes and the hats, and it's just the coolest picture ever. And she just found it before she came over, so she let me snap a picture of it. So that's going to be in there. And so I'm just sitting there and I'm just thinking, oh man, I really got to keep some of this history. And she's looking up, and it's got still has the old slat ceiling in it. And she goes, what are you going to do with this? I'm like, well, I said I wanted to do some history. I said I thought I'd start looking around and getting some like historic like tin tiles, because I know like the Atlas has them. I thought tin tiles. She's like, no. She's like, if you can do anything, just paint it. I'm like, well, I got to paint it. The ceiling was pink. I'm like going, I'm not going to have a pink ceiling.
Yeah.
So I ended up painting it black. But it's still cool. The black actually brought out a lot of details that I didn't see in there. There's still the old iron hooks in there, and you can still see the rings when they had the old oil lamps.
Oh, wow.
You can still identify them in the ceiling up there. So it's all there. And there's still iron hooks that come out the side where they had like, at some point they had like a little heater, the first heater when they finally got electricity in there. So it's been really cool kind of just keeping the history in that. So so it will be I'm going to do a photography studio, and then it'll be a part gallery too.
So when are you doing a grand opening then? When you
well, I've been trying to do it for, I wanted to do it in August, and then just like anything, you're just waiting for material. So the front of it is, we stripped the front out. There's not much there, but we're going to wrap the outside with black metal, the little overhang.
Yeah.
The door is going to be black. We've got black new matching windows, because they're the same size. We have these like big, they were just pieces of glass pinched literally between 1/8-inch plywood, and that's why there's bugs and everything is leaking. Nothing's sealed. The contractor's gone in there and he's sealing everything up. But we're gonna do whiteboard and batten going up on the front.
Cool. Big
Big black door. And then just to kind of keep some of the history, I wasn't gonna do it, and I'm getting some pricing now, but they had the old signs that jut out, kind of like the Riley's Auto sign sticks out. Mm-hmm. Well, it still has the original cast iron hook from when the Steinmans had their chain hanging off their sign. So I'm going to leave that there, but I'm going to put my sensory sign as a jut out sign along with the one that goes over the top of my overhang and that kind of stuff. And like I said, I've brought in a couple other people, and I was working with Tim and doing all the video stuff. I'm like, hey, if I'm not using my studio and you guys need to use it, I'm planning on building a seamless wall. So my next big project that I'm starting next week is because I have 12-foot ceilings, which is nice for a photographer. I got plenty of room, but I'm gonna have a 13-foot seamless wall,
great for
a cyc wall,
and,
a cyc wall that I can just use for headshots and quick stuff. I wanted to do it on a 90-degree, but the problem is with the upstairs, they still have a heater that heats a hole upstairs. It's from 1956, and it's starting to get burn marks. So we're going to change that out this year, I think, sometime, because of just safety reasons.
Yeah.
But if I built that cyc wall now before it got pulled out, where it would sit, they'd break through my cyc wall, and they're expensive to put in, because you got to have everything so smooth and seamless, and the curve has to be right, otherwise you'll get weird shadows.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna do one wall, and then on that, because it's like that's where the apartment is, so it's only like a 10-foot wall, and then there's just airspace that goes all the way back, and I'm just gonna do drop rollers and stuff coming off that for now. And then any of the rest of the wall space, I'm gonna have I'll do Montana landscapes and host pictures and stuff, just to have in the gallery. And then I might even put drops over the top of them, because I'll just have them jutted out, so when I roll them down, they'll just cover over the top of the gallery when I'm not, have a closed studio.
Yeah.
But I really want to do a lot of, I got a bunch of ideas that I want to do for like, they do like 40 for 40, like 40 women over 40, and do big campaigns and stuff.
Right.
So I want to do a bunch of campaign kind of stuff just to kind of get going. But in the wintertime, for me, it's going to give me options to keep shooting. Whether I do a lot of product photography. I'm trying to get back in the Silversmiths. They got a new director over there, and to see if I can just kind of keep myself funneled.
Let me know when it's bald 50-year-old guys month.
Yeah.
I'll get in there.
Yeah, like I said, when I do my grand opening, I think I'm going to set up and just do a free headshot thing.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Just to kind of show what it could be. I did do some historic things. There's one wall, I had it all painted white, and the ceiling black, and the floor is kind of it's a laminate floor. It's kind of a light gray and white wood looking one. And I thought, well, I'll just keep it that way. But then I was like, I need to put some more history back in this thing. So I started researching colors. And everyone's going to go in there and like, oh, you did cougar green on this one wall. Well, not really. it looks really close to Cougar Green. It's not pretty close. It's called Vogue Green, but Vogue Green is really popular if you watch any of the new like The Crown or anything. So they use it in parlors back in the 1840s. It's kind of that dark green. It's everything else, but it's Vogue Greens. It was always, they put it in places because it's supposed to help bring good energy, good wealth, and positivity to a place or a zone. So I just painted one wall, and that's going to be my wall where I'm going to put like a TV. I'm going to put some of my portrait stuff, and then be able to do my client views when I do their shoots and stuff. Bring them in, sit them down, go do a photo review with them, change the way I completely do business. But yeah, no, like I said, again, it's, you have to have somebody that's behind you that believes more than you do, or at least has a vision for it. I didn't. I'm honest. Like I said, I don't know how I'm gonna dedicate that to my wife, but it's gonna be somehow. I don't know how. Like I said, it's
no, it's awesome. It makes all the difference in the world having that kind of support. It really does.
But the other cool thing is like just seeing the history and looking at all that stuff in this small town, and being on the chamber and trying to find a way to bring it back to even where it was in the 80s. Like we had commerce on that street, but now it ends right at Yellowstone Bank because everyone turns and goes to the park or to Red Lodge. They don't venture down. Like, how do we pull that community down there? And like I said, so it was like the line drug next to me and all that stuff. If we could find somebody that had a vision and could go in and just, I mean, that where the Republican ladies in there, it's just a junk warehouse, but it's still got the original tiles in it. It's got a little water down, but it's a huge space. It could be something better than what it is. And again, I know it's so hard, especially with the economy and the way everything is now, but it could be something great.
It takes some investment, but it could be cool.
And like I said, it would be nice to find a way to revitalize it, because it's what's really cool is like Penny just got the original mason tools that they used to put that building up. So it's really detailed stuff you got to look at. So if you look on my building, the way that the grout is put in, it's rolled out, and it's a special tool. She's got that tool that does from the original guys that did the grout on that. And then if you go to the next building, it's rolled in, so it's concaved out and concaved in. She's got the tools that built all of this stone. And like I said, I never really paid much attention like we all do, but I didn't realize that all the stone from Columbus makes up the Capitol building in Helena.
Yeah, it does.
I didn't really realize that. And like, mine's got some crumbling and stuff, and they found a way to spray it and preserve it. So our next project after we get this done, like I said, we've had a busy year, but is to find a historic way to preserve that and spray that rock and keep that stone in as best shape we can forever. Because like I said, this is a long-term thing. It's kind of going to be part of our retirement probably. We'll at some point sell it or have our kids buy it. But having a building in your space of your own, and like I said, it's a hard thing for me to look at because you never thought it would be a reality. And like I said, the closer I get, I think get more scared, just because like it's getting more like it's coming. I get excited and scared at the same time. Like, oh, it's coming. But
right.
What do I do?
Yeah, it's pressure at the same time.
And trying to get it done. But again, we just get delayed with everything materials. We ordered a custom door, so it's got custom blinds because when I do shoots, I want to be able to black it out. We have a little space that was a bathroom, so I made it a changing area. So I had to structure that and run in water.
Yeah,
and,
everything takes. All the projects take 3 times what you think.
But like I said, when it gets done, it's going to be really cool. I'm going to try to do it, and I've already got a couple people that my wife's already got. She's like, you already got a photo shoot before you even open up a grand opening. So she got a bunch of her friends and girls in town, and they're going to do one of those pumpkin head shoots where they put the pumpkins on and put on their Halloween costumes. Like they got like these spider lacy gowns and stuff, and we're going to do a shoot, but they're going to carve all their pumpkins in there and just have space and just make it cool. But like I said, I've already approached a couple people that I've got some pretty good ideas. So you guys, I know you probably maybe not done a lot of stuff with like Special K. I don't know if you've ever been out to the ranch.
I haven't.
But we grew up in this community. Dallas is like a staple.
Guess who I visited with 2 weeks ago when Justin Gambino was here with the youth center.
Right.
The Special K guys were all at the youth center, and I went down there to help Shasta with something, and she's like, "You need to go back in the back." I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "Dallas has been asking about you." I'm like, "What?" I did. I mean, I hadn't seen Dallas like in 2.5, 3 years. I mean, he had some health issues for a little bit, and I just hadn't seen him around town. I go back in there, and he comes up. He's like, Cole, where have you been? You know, and I mean, but we all grew up with Dallas. We know we've.
And who was Dallas?
I had a good visit with him at the 4-H fair this summer.
So the history of Special K is, you know, it's for people with challenges and that kind of stuff. But Dallas was the first resident.
Yep.
The very first resident when they started building it into be what Special K has grown into, which is this amazing place. I always say, if I had more time and I had a bad day, if you could just go out to the ranch and they would let you sit in the greenhouses with those people for an hour, you will leave with a smile and be happy.
I feel bad because I was supposed to go out there. And we had talked to them about doing a video feature on them, and I don't know why.
Well, and you know, now they've expanded. They've got so much more. They just got a gymnasium. They just built a $1.5 million gymnasium for our residents and stuff.
Wow.
But so, growing up in this community and knowing small things, I had gone out there, and there's some residents that I knew personally. So, just growing up, you just meet people like Dallas. We always knew. Like, the greatest thing about Dallas is he's losing a little bit now because he's getting older, but he remembers everybody by name and by face.
Oh yeah,
and he remembers where he met you and when he met you for the last time.
Yeah, that's impressive. I'm terrible at that.
Yeah,
and so going out there, you know, I always go out there and not Kane, Alex Klee. So Dr. Klee's son was out there.
Okay.
And he was born with a lot of health challenges. He came out, he was always on tubes and had a lot of health problems. And I always loved going and seeing Alex, and he graduated in my brother's class in around 06. And he's been a resident for a while. And I went out there, and he was a real heavy metal fan. And he wasn't allowed to play his music while he was working unless he had an earphone in. And so I was sitting there one day out there. I was doing a film project. I was sitting there with Alex. I'm like, so Alex, who do you like? I mean, what kind of metal you like? I mean, where you sit? And he's like, I kind of go everywhere. I'm like, well, who's your favorite? Like, if you could see someone today, who would it be? And he's like, I'd really like to see Alice Cooper. And I'm like,
old school.
Oh my man. I'm like, Eddie, bring it on. Let's go. So that night I went home and I bought him like 4 shirts, and I bought him an Eddie doll. I was just like, I'm going to bring it to him because like he's going to love this. And I brought it to him, and he was so excited. Everything else. Well, about 4 months ago, out of health situation, out of the blue, he passed away.
Oh man,
a young guy. I really miss him. He was a lot of fun. But I was sitting there thinking, like, with my photography, I mean, it's about making money, but it's also about creating art and creating contacts with people. Like you meet people. Like I'm an introvert by nature, but it's made me a little more of an extrovert. Because I like talking, and obviously I like talking, but I like, you know, going out and meeting people. And I came to Steve and the people at the ranch, and I said, hey, I got this studio coming up, and I said, I have this idea, and it's really based off Alex. I said, the worst thing that happens is people don't realize that getting pictures and just getting a photo of a family member. Because when they pass, that's the last thing you have. So I said, what I want to do is I want to create a chance for each resident to come into groups of 3 to 5 with their favorite people, because they all have people in their houses that they really click with, and they have personalities and they feel comfortable with. And I want to do a photo shoot with each one of them. And they do their big fundraiser, which this year was already, I think it was August.
Yeah.
And I want to have a gallery next year for every single one of those residents to have a big 24 by 36 frame picture on easels surrounding that entire room for their families and everyone to go see.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And I don't really want to do it so much to promote myself. I mean, it is a little promotion, but I told them, like I said, I want to donate all my time and everything else, but I do want to go and ask, like, I know Montana Silversmith is a big sponsor. Sabani was a sponsor. All these people really support that ranch because of what it does and what it represents. And just ask them for donations to pay for the frames and the print work. That's it. And then have a deal with Special K that all the pictures stay in the resident's home after the gallery and everything's done, so that they're always there. And then if family members want them, I will print and sell them prints so they have copies of that. But at least if someone passes away, God forbid, you know, things happen, at least at the memorial service they'll have a nice representation of who they are.
Yeah.
Because I think they get lost.
Yeah.
Individually. I mean, as a group, they're always seen together. They're always out in the community. But individually, they're just lost. They don't get that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then what I would just do is I would just keep it an over thing, and maybe like every 3 to 5 years update that picture and just keep it so that if something does happen for those lifers, like, I mean, like Dallas is just a staple. Like I said, I still personally think, and they've done it with some of their members, but like in the entryway there, I think there's a picture of Dallas many years ago of him herding in sheep, and he's whipping sheep coming down the hillside. I think they need to turn that into a bronze statue and have that in the entryway, because he's the first resident.
Wow, yeah, that's
One
a
of
good
the first
idea.
ones. But it'd be cool. But like I said, I want to do campaigns like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some others that I could do, like, this Halloween shoot I'm gonna do with the girls is gonna be fun, and that's all great and stuff. But I want to find ways to expand that to just make it, our video and media and pictures. It's not just a picture if you really think about it.
Yeah, no, it's there's so much more. I could sit here and I've been thinking about that too. I'm just like, no, it's more like it's not, and it's more than just documenting, but it is documenting a moment. It's just, I don't know. There's something about it. It's timeless.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, just like look at those pictures, like the Steinman brothers sitting in the place that I'm going to now run, and they ran it for 40 years. I still can't even comprehend that, you guys.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was also split at one time. It was a restaurant and a barber shop. At one time, there was there's a theory, and we don't know yet. We got to do some record search, but we know that there was a brothel at one time over the Atlas. I mean, that's kind of confirmed. But there's rumors that ours upstairs was a brothel, possibly, at some point in its history. But it had, one time, it was a U.S., surveying governor's office up there. It's been so many things.
So in one shape or form, it was a brothel.
Yeah. We screwed one way or the other. But, I don't know. Like I said, just seeing all that kind of stuff. But, again, like I said, this town... Again, like I said, if we could get community together, we could fix some of these things up, bring things in, revitalize it, and find ways to make it more than it is.
We all just got to play Montana Millionaire, man.
Yeah.
There we go.
Or just, I don't know, like I said, again, I don't think it is even just, other than buying the property is the hard thing, I think, sometimes. But, again, just fixing up the minimal. If I would just minimally fixed up what I did, just put new paint in there and just cleaned up some of the dirt and rust and maybe some carpeting. Yeah. If you, without the building price, you could probably do that for $5,000, and do it. But you could turn it into something useful, and I think we need more of that. And especially in this town, whether it, I think it could be a community center of some kind, like even that the old line drug, or something like, you always have wrestlers looking for places to wrestle on the mats or whatever. Turn it into wrestling in a taekwondo, something. Just make it useful. I'd really love to bring a movie theater back in.
I know. I was thinking that same
God,
thing.
Just a one-screen movie theater? How sweet. Like, Big Timber's got one. Red Lodge got one.
Harlow's got one.
Forsyth has one.
Yeah.
Forsyth has one.
One in Harlow, they use it for kids, the high school kids. That's where they earn their money. They go in there and they work, and then they get a portion of the funds, and that's how they make a lot of college money.
Well, and then like the one in White Sulphur, they have the stage line pizza in the front. So you can eat your pizza and watch a movie. How freaking cool.
I hit a theater in Kelso, Washington, and you went in, and it was like gourmet pizza. And they had taken out every other row in this historic old theater. And they had put like a long table in between every row. And then you'd order your food, and you could get like a pitcher of beer, or you could get glasses of wine or whatever. They give you a little number, and then they would play old movies, and you just would go in there and they'd bring your dinner out to you. And anyway, super cool place. Yeah. So I've always wanted like something like that in our town. That'd be
sweet.
Yeah.
It would just be so cool. Again, if you're just doing it for even if you just did holiday stuff and played old Christmas movies, or play the Hallmark Channel in there for all I care, whatever, Hallmark movies in there, and just make it old school. But again, it'd be cool if you had like a stage line pizza, because it was cool. And I did the one, we were just stayed overnight. We were going up skiing up there, and we were like, we're just staying in town tonight. And we didn't think anything. We're like, let's get a pizza. And then we saw it was a movie theater. We're there drinking a beer and having a pizza and watching a new release movie. It's one screener. It's not very big. It's probably as big as your wall here. It's not that big, but it was still fun.
Oh yeah.
And it was great because it had a little light thing on the chairs, and the way they made the chairs in. You just hit the thing, and they come and grab your pitcher when you wouldn't even know it was gone, and they'd refill it with beer. So you just had a new beer sitting there. That's awesome. That was super sweet. Yeah. The kids were in there, and just like I said, that stuff's fun. But like I said, this town wasn't as sleepy as it is now. When we were kids, like I said, there was like 4 or 5 restaurants, and the penny candy.
Yeah. The 7-Day Mart.
7-Day Mart.
So So my dad being the dentist,
right across the street,
right across the street
from a candy shop.
So you guys all know Dick Hurd was the attorney and everything.
Yep.
So he always used to. I'd come out of my dad's office and he'd do the quarter behind your ear, but he used to be a 50-cent piece, and be like, make sure you tell your dad I gave you that. And I would go across the street and buy 50 cents worth, 50 pieces of candy, because it was all penny candy, Swedish fish and heart, jawbreakers and all that stuff there in the case, and come where my dad be like, oh, Hurd gave you money again, didn't he? He said to keep you in business, Dad.
Yep.
He goes, well, he's going to if you keep eating all that stuff. And I just suck it down.
Dude, I remember when there was that little arcade over there too. We'd go there after school, play video games.
Ken Tweeten had that.
Ken Tweeten had it for a long time.
Little trading post.
Yeah.
And it was a gas station
Yep.
forever. And then, just look again, starting to just dive into history, and this town has got so much. And like I said, it'll be cool next year when Tim Loafing brings in that Stillwater County movie.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that goes, because
he's been around a lot.
It's 2 years worth of documentation to get this thing done. It's a long process. Like you said, he's in a cave right now just editing, because it's supposed to come out in June, I think.
Is it?
I think he wants it to come out in summer. He's going to do a big release here, and they're going to show it somewhere at the museum. Somehow they either project it onto a cloth or something.
But we talk about it all the time, because you guys both know that. I've been a history nerd since I was a third grader. But like, we talked about Lee Lute. He had the laundromat here, and he had guys from one of the Tongs in San Francisco come up here and try to kill him. You look at the history of this community, between Columbus, Absaroka, Rapple, Reed Point, Molt, and that stuff. It makes Deadwood look pretty calm at times.
Yeah.
When you really start looking about what went on around here. We got the big ranch. What was the big ranch?
The 79.
The 79 ranch, and then we had the ranch out by Painted Robe. And those guys are like, we just went and hung some cattle rustlers the other day.
Yeah.
One of them happened to be a guy I went to school with.
Yeah.
And if I didn't hang him, they were going to hang me.
Yeah, just crazy times.
And really, it's not that long ago.
No, it's not.
It seems like long. The other day I was like, oh, something happened in 1990. God, I feel so old. But, you start thinking about some of the history is just cool. Like, my dad had his dental office. And then there was, like I was talking about Dr. Swanson within the old doctors.
The library.
The library.
Yeah. But, up above where, Altana,
Yellowstone?
No, the
Valley.
There you go.
Valley used to be Mandeville Insurance Agency for a while right there, but above used to be the dental office. And Webb Mandeville, the mayor, he told me, he's like, I was so scared every time I go up there, because this is old dentistry, but they'd have to go up these cricky stairs to get up to that top level.
Yeah.
And there'd be waiting whoever was working, and you could hear kids, he says kids screaming. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just add that for effect. You always do that for dentists and stuff. But the dentist's office there. But how many things have changed and what all these buildings have been. Everything goes through cycles and changes, but it's just incredible, to remember, even seeing the picture from the 80s, and it just brought, it flooded me with memories of going down Pike. You know, and then Mom telling your stories when I was telling her about finding history, with the Bertha's clothing store.
Bertha's,
yeah. We used to shop there all the time.
So I guess I was probably Mom said when I was 3 or 4. So we go into Bertha's, and it's a clothing store, kind of think of like a Macy's, and she's all women's clothing, and they have a little kids area, and you're playing with toys. So I'm sitting there playing with toys, and my mom's in there trying on a dress or something, and she comes out, and Bertha's sitting there, and she comes out and she goes, wow, that doesn't look like it fits you very well. And then I'm sitting there and I'm playing, and what did my mom say? It was like, what did I say? Oh, not grotesque. I think I misheard something. It was like, I said something along the lines like, I just lost my thought. My mom was sitting there trying on, and obese. That's what it was. She goes, Colette, that doesn't make you look obese. And she goes, without a heartbeat, you turn around so mad. My mommy is not a beast. She's a very nice lady. So, I thought it was obese, but it was a beast, and I took it the wrong way. And Mom was like, no, it's okay, and everything else. But all that stuff. I mean, I remember eating the Busy Bee.
Oh, yeah.
all the time.
All the
Breakfast
time.
in the
Breakfast in the Busy Bee.
Man,
and the branding iron on the other
branding iron where the youth center is now. That place was so good.
Yeah.
I remember the colors in the Busy Bee.
Oh,
the
man.
yellow and the red
Yep.
and the orange.
Man, I mean, going into the old Air Bowl and playing on
Oh,
the claw
my
machines
God.
and bowling league on Fridays.
Yep.
I mean, I wish our kids had that. I mean, who bowls? But I mean, every Friday we'd jump on the bus at the elementary school, and they would drive us across the truck, drop us off. So most of our moms worked either at the Silversmiths or around town. And at 5 o'clock, they'd come pick us up, and we'd all be bowling in leagues. And then we end up traveling to Bozeman and Great Falls to go play in tournaments. And I mean, but we'd run around and play claw machines. But they had women's night and men's night, and then they had the bar upstairs and
the cigarette machines.
and getting your hands stuck in the cigarette machines and trying to rig out quarters so you could
I've
go
heard
play.
about that cigarette machine.
25
It's
cents.
a famous one.
Yeah.
I wonder where that thing ended up. But it would be a cool. That'd be a cool thing to find for the museum because it had the old pole handle on there.
But there was so much.
I won't
fun
say her name, but you can imagine who told me about the cigarette machine.
cigarette machine.
Could probably be over in Ken Eckley's garage over there. That's where the guy that used to own the Air Bowl lived in that house right there.
He might have it. So, like it could be.
One of you
somewhere.
guys should go get that thing.
And stock it with like candy cigarettes or something.
Yeah,
but I
so.
mean, it was cool though. Like I said, that time was fun around here, and I think that's what we did. At the Little Stone Church, which is across from my house now. I mean, we did Boy Scouts there, and I mean, just everything is. But like I said, a lot of that stuff, again, like you're talking about culture changes and stuff, it's not emphasized anymore.
No.
I mean, again, we lived in the high school really up to until we were about juniors and seniors, where we were putting shotguns in your back of your window because you'd go bird hunting after school, or you had. If you're working on a ranch, you had at least a 243 back there to shoot coyotes. If you're checking calves in the morning, or driving in,
and nobody ever cared.
No,
I mean, everybody knew that Clay and I would go hunt geese in the field where the hospital is now. We'd go hunt there before school, and we'd have our mom and dad. We put our school clothes on, we put our coveralls on. We'd go out and hunt geese in the morning. We make it to school. As soon as we got out of school, we'd go put our coveralls on, drop the decoys right out there, and I mean, the decoys and the shotguns and the ammo were in my truck. You know,
yeah.
So
Just not those days anymore.
No, but I mean, like, again, that thing about teaching and learning, even those older skills that people just think are just ancient,
and
they're
unneeded.
not. They're
needed.
They're needed. They're just, when is your need gonna be?
Right.
What scenario? Like, I bet you there's people that are sitting on a place in North Carolina figuring out how to stay warm and being wet and how
build a shack to stay out of the way.
and like, I mean, what are they? I mean, do they have that skill to create a shelter to survive until they can get some help? I mean, these are all questions, like you said, that brings it all to the forefront, how easy and how fast it could just deteriorate just like that, because a lot of people don't have any of those skills.
Yeah.
My old boys did, because my dad's a survivalist too, and he's taking survival courses. All my kids, they know how to, 4 or 5 different ways to make a fire.
Yeah.
And we'd go on a motorcycle ride, and we'd leave with Grandpa for the day, and he'd come back, and they took reeds out of his pond, and they were making mats to sleep on that night, and they were excited to sleep on grass weaved mats. And then my youngest Drake at the time went and made a deadfall, so it was just a rock and a stick where there was a beaver or a muskrat over on a creek bottom, and he was so excited to go check it the next morning, and it had fallen over. Dad goes, I don't know if we set it up right, but he's like, there was no muskrat underneath it, but he was so excited that he learned a skill, like, if I had to, like, this could work, and then, making it with flint, making it with a bow, and sawing a bow style, he shot him 4 or 5 ways, and without even asking, even in our backyard, before they'd like want to roast marshmallows, I'd see Dane out there, and he was making flint knap pile, and then he was
do the magnesium
rod and sparking it to light the fire that night. The next night was Drake, and he's sitting there with a bow, heating it up and trying to get the coal. And I mean, that's work. I mean, it's not like people think that's easy stuff.
No, it's not.
No, it's work.
Yeah,
that's easy, but I mean, those skills they just come by the wayside. But again, we were doing that in Boy Scouts, and again, I don't know if I've ever seen a scout troop over there very often anymore.
I don't know even if they do Boy Scouts
don't think they
anymore.
And then Girl Scouts, of course, they've deteriorated with building in with all kinds of different society problems into all those things. But I mean,
that's a whole other episode.
Yeah, I know, but
I'm sure you guys all know this by now, but Barb Henderson passed away.
Really?
And we just had her funeral last week.
I didn't know.
Yeah, we had our funeral last week, and I mean, she's, what was she, 90, 93, 94, but she ran Boy Scouts here from the 70s till the early 2000s. She ran the pool for 50 years. I mean, the wealth of knowledge that woman had was invaluable, and I guess luckily Penny sat her down and did an oral history with her and recorded the whole thing, so we have it somewhere. But she had, and I don't know if it's an original, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to have it, but I had a picture from her that she showed me more than once of John Johnston when he was a constable at Red Lodge.
Oh, wow.
And I'm assuming it's original, but I've never been able to get Dennis or Terry or anybody to let me see it again, so I don't know. But and there is one thing, and I'll put it out there today. I do want to push the city council to name the pool after her. I want to make it the Barb Henderson Memorial Pool.
It should be. She ran it forever.
She ran, like I said, she started running it in the early 70s, and I think she must see. I was a lifeguard in 99 and 2000, and I think she had just given it up. And who was running it then? Sherry Asham's oldest daughter was running it then. But yeah, she ran that pool for like 30 years.
Wow.
You know.
And then the Boy Scouts forever.
Yeah, Boy Scouts forever.
Yeah.
I was in her Boy Scout troop.
You know, it all just, I mean, not to get all deep into it, but a lot of that's just changed. It's just not what it was.
Yeah.
You know, they don't teach the things now that they taught us back then.
No, and
There's
again,
no emphasis on the certain things.
Yeah.
Importance.
Yeah.
Again, it's not a conspiracy. It's a theory, and I think there's a purpose for all that.
Oh yeah, there's a reason behind everything that's been going on. It's a long-term plan. It's like, you know, how long it take us to become what we are, and how long does it take those people that want to destroy it to do it. It's not been 10 years. It's not been 20. It's been over 80 years that they've been working on. You can see the progression. If you go back, you know, you can see the presidents, and you can start watching everything starting to change, and then society change, and more and more and more. And it's always an ideology or some thought. Again, like I said, it could fall and crumble, and it could revitalize and become something better. I hope not. Not in my lifetime, not my kid's lifetime, but we don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I've sure enjoyed this tonight. We should do this again.
I have too. This has been one of my favorites.
Yeah.
To get a bunch of. You guys aren't even old timers, but you guys all grew up here, and you know what I mean? Like, we're all kind of like on the edge of becoming the old timers around here, you know? Like,
and I think that's like, and that's, I mean, I LLC'd my business 2 years ago, so I'm even less into it than Cody, and completely different. You think of wildlife photography is almost impossible to do anymore, but I mean, I'm making it go enough that I can go all over the world to do things, but you know, and I just joined the chamber this year, and I think Cody was the one who even told me I should probably join the chamber. And I mean, I got to thinking about it because we get to vote. We're doing the voting for, you know, the new business and volunteer of the year and all that. And I'm like, it's our turn for that stuff now. You know,
responsibility. I didn't want to be the president, to be honest.
Yeah.
I got voluntold by my wife because she went into the bank and they have to be on so many boards, so she did it. And at the time, it was just Joyce and she's not there anymore, the secretary, and one other person. Andrew Newell was the only two people on for like 5 or 6 years. They're the only chamber members.
Wow.
And so my wife voluntold me, and then last year I got voted VP, and then this year they're like, oh
look,
congratulations
to the president now.
But I mean,
it's not a bad thing.
No,
it's a challenge. Again, like I said, the hardest thing about this town, it's so great, but it's a city and a county in one.
Yeah.
And that is the detriment to this place all the time, because you got to get them to agree on a lot of things. I mean, we try to put on events. I can't even. This is another podcast, but getting into just like doing the balloon rally, and the hurdles we have to jump just to bring something back in this town, and everyone complains like, well, Absaroki's got all this stuff. Red Lodge has got all this stuff. Yeah, we can have it too. We just got to have the people that want to have it with us on board and see it. I mean,
well, maybe there's new blood, you know, coming up. You know, because I've heard this ever since I moved here, is that, well, the old timers around here don't want things to change, so they turn a lot of things down, or they want, you know, whatever. I don't know what the real answers are, but
you're right.
Maybe there's new blood.
Yeah, and you know, I didn't want to be on. You know, I didn't have any aspirations of being on city council. It's the last headache I need, raising 3 girls and trying to start my own business and being a cop. You know, but I was like, You know, we talk about it on other podcasts. If you want change,
You got to step up.
you got to
and do it
step
yourself.
up and show up and be the change. You know, and doing, you know, seeing this stuff that Cody's doing with the chamber and now the studio, and you know, and Shelby made his own business, and he's all over the county. I mean, but we're the ones now. We're at that age where we have to step up, or you know, we can't be like, oh, the people after us will do it. But we're the guys that are going to be sitting at the Busy Bee drinking coffee in the mornings. You know,
Well, and like again, you know, other podcasts, like, you know, just with Bar Pass in a way, like getting Webb Mandeville and Jim, they grew up here as boys.
Yeah.
They know a lot of history, like whatever, all the changes is they've seen it. They lived through it.
Yeah.
They lived through that, you know,
The
generation
70s and 80s.
and you know, in the 50s.
God,
and
could
stuff.
you imagine if Jim Annan was alive and we could talk to him about him catching fish for Teddy Roosevelt for breakfast?
Incredible.
Come on, man.
I know. But there's interesting people
Maybe
like
Webb
that
met him.
with
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, Webb met Teddy Roosevelt or Jim Annan.
Jim Annan.
Oh, I'm sure Webb knew Jim Annan. I bet when he was young.
I mean, like I said, there's a good chance the 6 degrees of separation. There's a really good chance that either his dad or an uncle or somebody was involved in all those histories, and that's people don't, you know, like to kill history because of the bad things that happen, but it's so cool when you get into it. Like, dude, I haven't even got into all my building yet. I've seen the 5 things it's been.
That's
and it's
one building, bro.
Yeah,
one building.
I wish everyone would, like I said, take those buildings, revitalize and renew them, and have the same thing I'm doing is keep making a coffee table book that can be hit into. I will give to the museum. I'll keep it and keep it updated, so then you always know. Someone down the road could go, wonder what this was back in the day. Flip through it, there it is, show the picture. Like, there's a cool picture with a big old steam tractor out front and cars that I'm
you know, because when you know the history of things and when you cherish the history, it gets embedded in the culture. Like, how much I hear you guys talk about like what this place was in the 80s and 90s, and you guys know that history and you appreciate it, and so you cherish this community and you take care of it. And I think when the younger generations grow up, why they may vandalize something or not care about something is they don't know the history of it, you know? And it's like when you know the history of it, you cherish something more. And I think that's my little 2 cents, I think, on why I think it's important to know those things. Why, like you said, hey, somebody takes over an old building, you should keep that history of that. And it should be, because when that gets shared with the next generations and the next generations, you all take care of your community more.
You know what you should do is you need to get a picture and you need to find a couple of people, or even maybe you and Troy, because you're brothers, and recreate the Steinman picture.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
That would be cool. Sweet.
Yeah, like I said, I'll send that picture. I've got it myself. I'll show you guys when this is over. I'll show you. It's a really cool photo. But like I said, that history stuff, I won't have my coffee table book done before the opening because I want to really dive in and spend time and go through all the archives with Penny. And like I said, we just get too excited. We just freak out over all this cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, I brought Penny a thing that I got out of Rappelj. I got an original flyer from 1921. I have 3 of them. I gave 2 to the museum. I kept 1. Original flyers from the original printing company that Rappelj had, trying to invite people to the town. It was before the fire, so it's got pictures of the hotel. This was a 1921 flyer. So all the pictures in it are from 1917 when the town was when it became a town in 1917 to 1920 are the pictures in this 6-fold. I'll bring it tomorrow when we do the other podcast with Ron. But it has pictures of Rappelj. It has talks about the wheat, and so there was a competition. There's like a national competition back then for
bushels per acre.
And heirloom wheat, which they used heirloom back then, which we don't, and that's why wheat and gluten and the pasta is so freaking bad for us right now because we quit using the heirloom wheat. But so they and the wheat that came out of Rappelj was some of the top wheat in the nation. I mean, it's a cool flyer.
So we the chamber just did that cutting for the Super 8. They remodeled it and everything else. When they tore down one of the planters, someone had put a time capsule in there underneath the tree that was in the lobby.
Really?
So they've got
old?
So 19. That's what I said. That's why I thought it was old. From 1990 when they built it.
Oh wow!
So it was a square planter, and it had a tree plant on top of it, and someone planted or stuck a time capsule in there with original newspaper and print articles and that stuff. And there's the old businesses from the 90s that were advertising there, but it was I can't remember which. They still got copies over at the Super 8, but it's I can't remember what printer it was, like a local one. It might not Rapalje, Absorki or
probably there used to be a Stillwater Printing
or Stillwater Printing,
and Absorki.
So, yeah.
And Absorki.
So that was there, but like I said, find those cool time capsules.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like I keep going through my building and keep looking for like little hidden gems. And every time I do, I take a picture and I just send it
Does
to
this
Penny.
town have a big time capsule
We
somewhere?
did one in my kindergarten year. So in 89.
We opened ours up
88.
after we graduated.
We didn't open ours up yet, I don't think.
No, we opened it on our 20th.
Did you?
Our 20th anniversary, someone found the caps and we opened up and it was like, you wrote note like, I want to be this when I grow up. And like mine was, I wanted to be a professional ski racer. I don't know. I like to ski back then, I guess, but it didn't happen.
Who didn't?
I know we did one.
I probably wanted to be a cowboy.
That's not changed.
That hasn't changed. So yeah, but we did one in 1989, and I don't think because we couldn't do anything for our 20th because it was 2000.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so we didn't have a 20-year reunion. I don't think. I mean, if we did, I wasn't invited.
It's weird.
If we had
that you
one.
lived here.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, it's usually hard to get people back together, but like I said,
Yeah.
on our 20th, we were able to get some of us back together.
But I thought we did a community time capsule when we had the Bobo days.
Something like that.
I thought we
yeah.
did one then.
I wonder where it went. Or was it buried, or was it
I
just
don't know.
sent somewhere? Maybe it's in the old courthouse somewhere, or put it into a wall or something.
Really?
I don't know.
Don't even get me started on the courthouse, guys.
I know. That's another
podcast. You want to see me get pissed off and angry?
Yeah. Well,
Let's
there's
start
lots of
talking
things.
about the courthouse
The Norton House.
my gosh.
and the Norton House.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
that's another
Dude, I'm so pissed off right now about that Norton, about what they're doing,
wanting to do.
wanting to do it, and they're gonna do it, and it's pissing me off. And and then like they were talking about the Stone Church or the Stone Schoolhouse in Absorki. At least they're trying to do something to raise the money for it. There's nothing. There's not one peep. I bet you I go talk to 5 people in town. They have no idea A, what the Norton House is, and B, that they want to tear it down.
It's for more parking.
Yeah, for more parking.
The old house right next to the.
I asked
courthouse there.
Penny months ago. I said,
Yeah.
"Is there any way to save it, or is it too late?" And she says she thought it was too
I think
late.
it's too late, but we're gonna try to figure out a way to keep the front
instead
of it.
tearing it down, is there a
Move
way
it.
that you could move it somewhere?
Who's got some
No.
time and can chain themselves to it?
No, you can't move it, but
It's pretty fragile.
You guys
too.
remember that in the '90s? That chick who climbed up in that tree and lived in that tree for like
yeah.
2 years or something. To
I'm
keep
hoping-
them from cutting it down.
Mhm.
Yeah, talking to Penny, it sounds like we're going to try to figure out a way to keep the front of it, at least disassemble the front to where we can put it back together, and you can at least put it on the wall of the museum
Mm-hmm.
and have the front of the Norton House. But without the Norton House, we don't have a courthouse because that was all his land, and he donated it to the county when it was platted to put the courthouse there. So
Again,
Yeah.
city
Yeah,
and
I
county
was- I was
together.
a
That's another.
I was pissed off about when I heard the other
Oh,
day
dude,
too. So
I'm a little furious over it, but
Well, guys, I really enjoyed this one
Yeah.
this evening.
Yeah.
Thanks for
coming out.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks, guys.
for-
thank you.
Yeah,
that
it's
was a fun one. We'll do it again.
Well, we can go all kinds of rants.
oh man, like I said, I think we should do it a little bit more often. I mean, this has been a fun night. So
It has
Yeah.
been.
Yeah.
Shelby said to me earlier today, he's like, "Yeah, listen to all your episodes and everything, and I don't know how you talk to people though for like sometimes 2 hours, 3 hours."
And we've been here for 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I haven't even eaten dinner yet. I got home from work and came right over here. So
All right. Hey, well, thanks,
All right,
guys.
perfect.
We'll do it
Yeah,
again.
thank you.
all right, later.
Yeah.